Chapter 301. Do you want to know more about the Heavenly Island? Chapter 301. Do you want to know more about the Heavenly Island? Translator, Godbrandi Editor, Karisu. Pedo Uncle 002 edition acted the same way as that other pedo uncle that was sexually harassing Yuga Yu earlier. After hearing pedo Uncle 002 edition's words, Yuga Zhongyang's hair stood on end. Uncle, I'm not gay. It doesn't matter. This uncle here is very experienced and will make you feel really good. Moreover, as long as I refine someone with your special type of constitution in a cauldron, I'll be able to jump through the Dragon Gate and reach the second stage realm. Pedo Uncle No. 2's tastes were even heavier than Pedo Uncle No. 1's. In addition, was it a tradition of the sect to teach their students these lines? He basically said the same lines as Pedo Uncle No. 1. Don't come over. Stay away from me. If you come closer, I'll bite my tongue off and commit suicide. Yuga Zhongyang howled. Don't worry, my dear. Even without your tongue, you'll still be delicious. Pedo Uncle No. 2 evilly smiled. At this time, Yuga Zhongyang was really thinking of killing himself. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. It's over there. 9 Lanterns looked at Song Shuhang and pointed her finger toward the nightmarish scene. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh and quietly took out his treasured saber broken tyrant. Luckily, he had come just in time and Yuga Zhongyang had yet to be deflowered. In the next instant, he accelerated and dashed toward Pedo Uncle No. 2. Pedo Uncle No. 2, who was just about to pounce upon Yuga Zhongyang, felt something was amiss. He suddenly turned around and used his metal rod to ward off the attack coming at him from behind. Song Shuhang held the saber tightly and didn't use a showy technique or the flaming saber. He merely slashed vertically with considerable strength. Song Shuhang had learned these basic moves from the young man in green clothes in Venerable White's illusory reality. The treasured saber broken tyrant clashed against Pedo Uncle No. 2's metal rod. Clang! In the next instant, the saber cut through the solid metal rod like a knife through butter. Its power didn't decrease at all, and the blade kept aiming at Pedo Uncle No. 2's head. Is that a treasured weapon? Pedo Uncle No. 2 cried out in amazement. Although the metal rod in his hand was an ordinary weapon, it was still made of tempered steel, and yet the weapon of his opponent had easily cut through it. His opponent was using a treasured weapon, that was the only explanation. In this critical situation, Pedo Uncle No. 2 cast his metal rod aside and rolled to a side to evade Song Shuhang's attack. After dodging the attack, Pedo Uncle No. 2 suddenly disappeared, becoming invisible. Not good. Not only did I fail to take advantage of the element of surprise, I even let him become invisible. The enemy is completely hidden, while I'm full of openings. What an awful situation. Song Shuhang secretly heaved a sigh. Song Shuhang. Yuga Zhongyang cried out in surprise after seeing Song Shuhang. Shush! Song Shuhang hinted for Yuga Zhongyang not to move heedlessly and stay silent. I can't find him with my eyes, and I can't sense him with mental energy either. As if that wasn't enough, even his smell disappeared after he became invisible. It's really an incredible and mysterious technique. If I can't see him, and I can't smell him, maybe I should try to hear him? Song Shuhang closed his eyes and pushed his sense of hearing to the limit. After opening his ear aperture, he could hear even the wind blowing and the grass moving. And even if the enemy was currently invisible, he would surely come in contact with the grass on the ground when moving. He just had to wait for that opportunity. Unfortunately, Song Shuhang didn't hear anything. Other than making them invisible, this technique allowed the enemy to remove both the sound and smell produced by his body. At this time, Song Shuhang was in a terrible situation where he could only get passively beaten. Is there really no way to counter the technique of this guy? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Just as Song Shuhang was thinking, the ghost spirit in his heart aperture made its move. Although he had already made a contract with the ghost spirit, Shuhang had yet to complete the synchronization process with it. This process was long and tedious, and Song Shuhang could do nothing but wait and let time run its course. But now, just as he was in deep thought, the ghost spirit came out of his heart aperture on its own initiative. Then, it started to float above Song Shuhang's head, carefully gazing at the surroundings. In the next instant, their sight finally synchronized. Through the eyes of the ghost spirit, Song Shuhang saw that a spectral figure was quietly approaching him from the right side. The spectral figure was shrouded in a layer of black mist, and it was exactly this black mist that allowed the man to become invisible and cover his smell, sound, etc. It was something akin to a ghost form. However, this ghost form seemed incapable of concealing itself in front of Song Shuhang's ghost spirit. Pedo Uncle No. 2 approached Song Shuhang slowly. Next, he stretched out his right hand, revealing a set of skinny and sharp fingers. While shrouded in this black mist, his entire body underwent a strange change. Right now, he didn't look like a human, but like a demon instead. He evilly grinned and thrust his ghastly claws towards Song Shuhang's chest, aiming at his heart. But right at this time, Song Shuhang suddenly turned around and slashed at him with his treasured saber Broken Tyrant. Pedo Uncle No. 2 didn't have the time to evade this time and was immediately cut into 2 pieces. "How did you discover me?" Pedo Uncle No. 2 bellowed. Moreover, even if he was cut around the waist, no blood gushed out. What came out was a mass of black mist that mixed with the mist already shrouding his body. Soon after, Pedo Uncle No. 2's body was swallowed by the mist shrouding him. "You actually dared to kill me. I curse you in the capacity of a creature of the Netherworld realm. I curse you to be infected by the filth of the Netherworld realm and fall for eternity." Pedo Uncle No. 2 howled. A cursed rune came out of the ghastly mist shrouding his body and rushed towards Song Shuhang, trying to brand itself on his body. It was an innate skill Pedo Uncle No. 2 could display if he was killed in his ghost form. No one liked to be affected by curses. Therefore, Song Shuhang quickly retreated, trying to avoid the cursed rune. But right at this time, the ghost spirit rushed downwards and opened its mouth, swallowing the cursed rune. Then, it burped satisfied and returned to Song Shuhang's heart aperture. "Even curses can be eaten now? It seems that the appetite of my ghost spirit is getting bigger and bigger. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Is it over?" Yuga Zhongyang asked weakly. Although he didn't see Pedo Uncle No. 2 dying, he saw that Song Shuhang wasn't on alert anymore and therefore asked. "For now." Song Shuhang nodded. Amongst the 3 freaks, the last one was still chasing after the other 2 passengers. Therefore, this affair had yet to finish. The background of these Pedo uncles seems problematic. They came from the Netherworld realm and had ghost-like forms. Does that mean that they aren't humans? Song Shuhang looked at 9 lanterns, giving her a perplexed look. "You're wondering what the Netherworld realm is, right?" 9 lanterns narrowed her eyes and smiled. Song Shuhang didn't know whether it was his own misconception, but it seemed that she really wanted to tell him about this Netherworld realm. Did it mean that 9 lanterns wanted to introduce him to matters related to the Netherworld realm? "No, I'm not that interested." Song Shuhang clenched his teeth and replied. "Eh? You aren't interested? Hee, all right. It's fine if you're not interested. After all, it isn't a good place." 9 lanterns laughed and continued, "In that case, are you interested in knowing what kind of place the Heavenly Island is? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 302, The Little Finger Snake. Chapter 302, The Little Finger Snake. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. Song Shuhang was rather interested in the Heavenly Island. After all, even the seniors in the 9 provinces #1 group wanted to know more about this mysterious island. Unfortunately, they weren't able to discover anything useful during their trip. They said curiosity killed the cat. The more mysterious a place was, the more humans would want to uncover its secrets. However, even if he were to discover the secrets of the Heavenly Island, what point there was to it? After leaving the island, his memories would be wiped, and he wouldn't remember anything. "I'm interested, but is there even a point in knowing?" Song Shuhang wanted to reply like this. But at this time, a figure appeared out of nowhere, stopping Song Shuhang from continuing with his speech. On a huge tree in front of Song Shuhang, on a tree branch located at the height of 10 meters, a figure wearing pink clothes and a red belt appeared. Just by looking at his attire, one could easily realize that it was another cultivator from the Netherworld realm. However, he was different from those two vulgar pedo uncles from before. This figure had a bewitching smile on his face and pretty facial features like those of a noble. "Hey, it seems you killed my two worthless senior brothers," the demonic young master said to Song Shuhang while leaning against the trunk of the tree. Song Shuhang narrowed his eyes. The style of this cultivator of the Netherworld realm was vastly different from the other two, and his strength was also higher. Shuhang could faintly feel the power of true qi emanating from the body of this demonic young master. It meant that this person had already reached the second stage true master realm. Song Shuhang held on to the treasured saber broken tyrant tightly and used his other hand to grasp the talisman in his pocket. He had double-checked several times, and there were no mistakes this time. It was precisely his last sword talisman. Behind Song Shuhang, after seeing this cultivator of the Netherworld realm appear, Nine Lanterns secretly clenched her small fists. "You actually dared to interrupt my speech. Are you tired of living?" Seeing Song Shuhang's tense face, the demonic young master laughed, satisfied. Next, while having an everything is under my control expression on his face, he said, "No need to be nervous. I'm different from my two worthless senior brothers. I'm a pacifist, and I think that it's better to use words to solve problems rather than fists. The ability to reason is what differentiates intelligent beings from wild beasts." His words immediately piqued the interest of Lady Onion, who was lying in Song Shuhang's pocket. "I agree. Beating and killing people is wrong. If possible, it would be better to solve problems with words alone. Only a brute would use violence." According to her, if Shuhang could have a good talk with her and release her, without having to threaten her every time, it would be truly wonderful. Song Shuhang. He likes to use words to solve problems. So, there are really people in this world with the chatty attribute as their primary one. Doesn't he know that those types of people are usually the first ones to die? Earlier, you killed my two senior brothers. So, how about this? Lend me the duo behind you for a while. If they can satisfy me, I'll let every one of you go. What do you think of my proposal? The demonic young master said, full of confidence. Zhuge Yu. Zhuge Zhongyang. He was worthily a cultivator of the Netherworld realm. Even if his style was vastly different from the other two, he was still a pervert in the end. After seeing your expression, it seems you have no intention of accepting my proposal, right? The demonic young master said coldly as he narrowed his eyes. At the same time, he released a burst of threatening aura from his body, directing it at Song Shuhang, Zhuge Yu, and Zhuge Zhongyang. Zhuge Yu and Zhuge Zhongyang were unable to resist and started to tremble subconsciously. Song Shuhang didn't utter a word. He held Broken Tyrant tightly and operated the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk, dashing toward the big tree. If the height of the branch was only 10 meters, he could reach it in one go with the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk. In the next instant, he raised Broken Tyrant high, and saber light flashed in the surrounding area. This attack was only a cover. The real attack would come from the talisman in Song Shuhang's hand. Once the demonic young master was in the range of the sword talisman, Song Shuhang would let him have a taste of its power. "Sai, why do I always meet people like you that overestimate themselves? If you want to die, I'll give you a helping hand," the demonic young master said coldly. "It's a pity that those two humans with a special constitution didn't serve me on their own volition. If I force them into it, the effects would be much worse." This was the reason for all that nonsense from before. After saying this much, the demonic young master opened his palms, revealing 10 blood-colored strings that were attached to his fingers. These strings were a special type of weapon, and if used together with true qi, they could be both soft and hard. Their power was astonishing. Next, he rushed forward and clawed at Song Shuhang. Song Shuhang had a calm expression on his face. Just 5 more steps and the demonic young master would be in the range of the sword talisman. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. But just as the demonic younger master took 3 steps forward, he felt something cold on his ankle. In the next instant, he saw Song Shuhang's appearance change and became bigger. In the blink of an eye, Song Shuhang turned into a 10-meter-tall colossus. But that wasn't all, his height was continuously increasing. At last, Song Shuhang changed into a 100-meter-tall giant that could shoulder the heaven with his arms. Broken Tyrant also turned into a huge saber that seemed capable of rending heaven and earth. What technique is this? Which race does he belong to? The demonic young master cried out in shock. Even if we took into consideration the ancient Titan race, it was rare to have someone reach the height of 100 meters. Moreover, Titans had already disappeared from this world, and even if they had left descendants behind, it was unlikely for them to be able to change the size of their body to that of a normal person. In this case, it should be an illusion, right? The demonic young master muttered. Yeah, there is no other explanation, it must be an illusion. Not only that giant, this huge snake coiling around my body must also be an illusion too. Stupid illusion, break, the demonic young master bellowed as he released the true chi in his body. Afterward, he made a hand seal and shouted, illusion-breaking seal. Powerful true chi covered his entire body. At this time, the huge snake coiling around his body became fidgety and opened its big mouth, gulping the demonic young master down. Break, 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 the demonic young master continuously roared while being swallowed down. In the next instant, the upper half of his body was swallowed, and only his legs were left, sticking out from the mouth of the snake and thrashing around. Afterward, well, there was no afterward. Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and looked at the finger-sized little snake on the tree trunk. The little finger snake. Song Shuhang immediately recalled that mysterious spirit beast Softfeather had told him about. Her magical purse that could reduce the size of objects was manufactured exactly from the shed skin of the little finger snake. The little finger snake had the innate ability to reduce the size of everything that came into contact with its skin. Although it was only as big as the pinky of a human, it could reduce the size of an elephant to that of a fingernail after coming in contact with it, swallowing it down with ease. Now it was all clear, no wonder Song Shuhang found the spirit beast who that 9 lanterns had introduced so familiar. Originally, it was the little finger snake. So, that huge lizard I encountered while I was leading the passengers toward the ancient city, also shrank and disappeared due to the little finger snake. And Yuga Yu must have ended up in this state because she casually bumped into the little finger snake earlier. According to 9 lanterns, the little finger snake didn't eat Yuga Yu because it was already full. Therefore, it didn't bother opening its mouth and swallowing down the infant like Yuga Yu. After eating its fill, it probably decided to take a nap and digest the food. However, the place it chose to rest wasn't good enough, and Yuga Yu unknowingly ruined its sleep. At this point, the snake was forced to change the location and decided to climb up on a 10-meter-tall tree to rest. But never would it have expected that someone would disturb its sleep even after it had climbed so high. If I don't show my strength, these guys might mistake me for a goddamn worm. Thereafter, the little finger snake didn't hesitate and coiled around the ankle of the demonic young master, reducing his size and swallowing him down. Although it wasn't hungry, it still decided to eat him in a fit of rage. After swallowing the demonic young master, the little finger snake raised its head and shot a cold look at Song Shuhang. The demonic young master wasn't the only one that disturbed its sleep, there was also Song Shuhang. Forgive me for disturbing you. I'm just an unimportant person that was passing by, can you kindly ignore me? Song Shuhang said with a radiant smile. He was planning to turn around and jump down from the big tree. But the little finger snake had no intention of letting him off. Although it was small, its speed was incredibly fast. The small snake shot toward Song Shuhang as fast as lightning. Pat! The snake attached itself to Song Shuhang's body. In the next instant, Song Shuhang started to quickly shrink while still in midair. In the blink of an eye, he had shrunk till reaching the size of a palm. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang had no intention of being reduced to the size of a fingernail and being swallowed down by the little finger snake. Miss 9 Lanterns, save me! Song Shuhang screamed and asked help. For some unknown reason, he felt that he was very skilled at asking for help. Was it possible that he became this skilled because he would often shout sentences such as Senior XXX, help me? Oh? It seems you need my help. Nine Lanterns narrowed her yes, she seemed in a very good mood. After finishing her sentence, she flickered her fingers and threw a set of golden prayer beads toward the little finger snake. The little finger snake that was still in midair sensed the danger and raised its head, looking at the quickly approaching prayer beads. Soon after, the little finger snake regretfully spat out its tongue and released Song Shuhang, shooting toward the big tree once more. However, those golden prayer beads were following the snake like the shadow that followed one's body. Pat! The prayer's beads stuck on its body, and the chant of sutras intermittently echoed from them. That sound was like a bolt of lightning, and it made the body of the snake intermittently tremble. Hiss! The little finger snake was incredibly annoyed and spat out its tongue once more. Afterward, its body cracked, and a brand new little finger snake shot out of the shell, quickly disappearing into the wilderness. Only some of its skin was left behind. Eh? Was it about to shed its skin and manage to escape because of it? Nine Lanterns said regretfully. Then, she took out a small notebook and wrote something on it. If one were to look carefully, they would discover that the notebook was full of writings. The headline was, 9 Lanterns Wishes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 303, I have many things I wish to do. Chapter 303, I have many things I wish to do. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. 1. Prepare a dish and see him eat it. Crossed. 2. Accompany him on a trip to a not too dangerous place. Crossed. 3. Save him one time. Just crossed. 4. Read many books together. 5. The first 3 lines were crossed out. It seemed that this notebook full of writings consisted of a list of things 9 Lanterns wished to do. After putting her notebook away, she took a step forward and stretched her hand, gently catching Song Shuhang, who had the size of half a palm right now. Song Shuhang immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you, Miss 9 Lanterns. You're welcome. Moreover, you looked very cute when you were asking for help. It was such a sight to behold. 9 Lanterns held her thumb up in approval and smiled. Song Shuhang. Miss, your way of appreciating things is a bit too weird. I feel rather embarrassed now. While supporting Song Shuhang with one hand, 9 Lanterns waved the other gently. The golden prayer beads hung on tree returned to her with the skin of the little finger snake still attached to them. A layer of spiritual energy was continuously rotating around the golden prayer beads, preventing the snakeskin from shrinking it. Song Shuhang gazed at the shed skin of the little finger snake with a bit of envy. After all, it was the main material used to manufacture those fake space bags. Do you want it? 9 Lanterns received the prayer beads and dangled the snakeskin in front of Song Shuhang. Yes. Song Shuhang replied honestly. After seeing Soft Feather's size-reducing purse, he wanted one too. This is mine though. You can forget about having it for free. 9 Lanterns smiled evilly and put the snakeskin Song Shuhang was drooling over away. Song Shuhang. After a while, he made a hollow laugh and asked, Miss 9 Lanterns, what about those 2 passengers that were together with Yuga Yu and Yuga Zhongyang? Since he was at it, he might as well bring those 2 passengers back with him, too. Their scent mixed with those of the other 8 people. It seems that the 2 groups meet up. These cultivators of the Netherworld realm were only interested in your 2 friends. Therefore, they didn't go as far as attacking those 2 passengers, 9 Lanterns replied. After hearing this much, Song Shuhang secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. On a side, Yuga Zhongyang was absent-mindedly looking at this bald girl that had suddenly appeared before his eyes. Just where did this girl pop out from? After she showed herself to catch Song Shuhang, Zhuge Yu and Zhuge Zhongyang could also see 9 lanterns. Zhuge Zhongyang was quite confused right now. How had Song Shuhang become so small? But it wasn't only Shuhang, the nearby Zhuge Yu had also become smaller. At this time, Zhuge Yu had started to slowly revert to her original form. She was currently around 80 centimeters tall and looked like a small lowly. But that wasn't the only thing out of the ordinary. Aside from that pervert that could become invisible, Song Shuhang also ran on a tree vertically till reaching the height of 10 meters. Just what was wrong with this place? Zhuge Zhongyang's mind was in a mess. No matter how much he rubbed his temples, he couldn't make sense of what was happening. Come, have a talk with your friend. 9 lanterns moved the hand Song Shuhang was standing on and positioned him in front of Zhuge Zhongyang. F***CK. Song Shuhang got a scare after seeing Zhuge Zhongyang's huge face. Just try to imagine the scene. If you were to be suddenly put in front of a huge human face enlarged tens of times, wouldn't that be comparable to something directly out of a horror movie? Miss 9 lanterns, not this close! Song Shuhang shouted. The mischievous 9 lanterns dangled Song Shuhang in front of Zhuge Zhongyang a few times and pulled him back. Song Shuhang rubbed his eyes and turned his head around, looking at 9 lanterns' face. Luckily, the faces of cultivators were still tender and smooth even after being enlarged by several times, and were nothing like those stuff you see in horror movies. Shuhang, just what's happening? Zhuge Zhongyang asked cautiously. It's a bit complicated to explain. For now, just hold Zhuge Yu and follow me. As first thing, we should return to the ancient city and leave this place. I'll tell you in detail later. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh. Their memories would be erased while leaving the island. Therefore, there was no point in wasting time and explaining the situation to them. It was better to make them leave immediately. Guys, follow me. 9 lanterns smiled and showed the way. Zhuge Zhongyang carried Zhuge Yu on his back and silently followed 9 lanterns. Along the way, Zhuge Zhongyang, somewhat worried, asked, yes. Shuhang, have you met Jiao Mumu and the others? How are they? Everything that had happened was his fault. His decision to go to the resort island in the East China Sea put everyone in danger. If something were to happen to Jiao Mumu and the others, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Don't worry. Jiao Mumu, Tubo, Lu Fei, and her elder sister already left this place. The reason I came over here was to escort you 2 back and make you leave this place, Song Shuhang said with a smile. After hearing Song Shuhang's words, Zhuge Zhongyang was immediately relieved. Soon after, he and Zhuge Yu followed Song Shuhang while full of doubts and arrived in the ancient city. Since they were under 9 lanterns' leadership, the group of 4 quickly arrived at the tall tower. After entering the tower, follow the instructions and complete the transaction. Once you're done, you'll be able to leave the island, Song Shuhang explained. What about you? Aren't you coming with us? Zhuge Yu was confused. At this time, her body had almost returned to her original size. I want to wait a little while. Just look at my body, I would like to return to my original size before proceeding. Song Shuhang bitterly smiled. He was still sitting on 9 lanterns' palm and felt quite uncomfortable. Don't worry about me. You 2 leave first, I'll follow suit when my body recovers. After leaving this place, immediately converge with Jiao Mumu and the others, don't lose your way again. Zhuge Yu and Zhuge Zhongyang nodded. Then, they turned around and entered the tower. This strange place was simply like a nightmare. They didn't want to stay here any further. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After seeing them enter the tower, Song Shuhang heaved a sigh of relief. Miss 9 lanterns, I think I should also take my leave. But I need to have my memories sealed if I want to leave this place, right? Song Shuhang asked. Weren't you interested in the Heavenly Island? 9 lanterns raised Song Shuhang and used her finger to poke him. Don't, it's painful. Song Shuhang dodged her finger and said, I'm acquainted with a few seniors, and before leaving this place, they had to seal their own memories. Although I'm not sure why they would be willing to seal their own memories, it seems that all the cultivators that want to leave the heavenly island must have their memories sealed first, right? What you said is correct, Nine Lanterns replied with a smile. Cultivators are indeed treated differently than the average person. Later, I'll have to bring you to the most mystical place of the heavenly island and make you swear an oath. Then, you'll be taught a technique that will allow you to seal your own memories. Once you're done sealing them, you'll be allowed to leave the island. In this case, can you bring me to that place directly? Song Shuhang said while cupping his hands. Don't be so anxious to leave. Nine Lanterns narrowed her eyes and smiled. Then, she took the snakeskin attached to the prayer beads out and said, "Do you want it?" Song Shuhang greedily eyed the skin of the little finger snake and said, "I want it." "If you want it, you need to make a deal with me," Nine Lanterns said happily. "A deal? What do you want in exchange?" Song Shuhang asked. He had a few cultivation-related things with him. The Green Breeze Amulet, the ancient bronze ring, the treasured saber-broken tyrant, the Enlightenment Stone, and Lady Onion who was growing on it, the Monster Onion Crystal, the shape-shifting brooch that Soft Feather lent him, as well as a few talismans and mixed medicine pills. Amongst them, the most valuable thing was surely the Enlightenment Stone. Although precious, none of the other things could be compared to the skin of the little finger snake. However, he would refuse if he had to trade the Enlightenment Stone for the snake skin. To him, the stone was much more important. Moreover, Lady Onion was still growing on it. Although you have a few items on your body, none of them really piqued my interest for so long inside the Black Sea. You can speak now. Nine Lanterns' voice echoed. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh of relief and opened his mouth, ready to reply. But in the next instant, he quickly covered his mouth with his hands. He almost spoke. At this time, he was still in the middle of the sea and had yet to reach the shore. That was close. When Song Shuhang covered his mouth, the spiritual energy of the world started to pour into his body at an even faster pace, as though he had passed another test. Song Shuhang had already opened 4 apertures before entering the heavenly island and was currently aiming to open his 5th aperture, the mouth aperture. Song Shuhang had decided against eating Lady Onion Sprout, but according to Venerable White's words, there was a high chance that his mouth aperture would have already been full of qi and blood if he had decided to eat it. At this time, the pure spiritual energy of the world was endlessly pouring inside his body. Moreover, when he stopped himself from talking earlier, the spiritual energy broke into his mouth like a ram, impacting his mouth aperture and creating a fearful explosion in his mouth. Additionally, we have to keep in mind that Song Shuhang depleted his qi and blood time and time again, continuously taking qi and blood pills to replenish it. Therefore, it was as though he had trained for the whole time he had rowed. At this time, his mouth aperture was already 90% full of qi and blood. After practicing a bit more, he would be able to fill it completely and try to open his mouth aperture. Once the mouth aperture was open, he would have to face one last hurdle, jumping through the Dragon Gate. It had really been an unexpected fortuitous encounter. Song Shuhang rowed with all his might and finally, they reached the shore. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After the boat stopped, Nine Lanterns lightly jumped and reached the dock. Afterward, she stretched her hand and pulled Song Shuhang onto the shore. "You can speak now," Nine Lanterns said with a smile. Song Shuhang carefully looked if her mouth was indeed opening and closing. Then, after making sure that both his feet were on the ground, and that he was out of the range of the sea, he heaved a sigh of relief. "That was dangerous," Song Shuhang replied. "Yes, but you were rather quick-witted." Nine Lanterns smiled as she patted her greenish-white robe. "Let's go. We have to greet the Spirit Beast Senior." Song Shuhang asked cautiously, "Miss Nine Lanterns, how is the disposition of this Spirit Beast Senior? What does it like and dislike? Also, what's its appearance? If you knew the ins and outs of the opposite party, you were assured to obtain victory. It's pointless to tell you about its disposition, it can change at any moment. As for what it likes and dislikes, that's also very varied." Nine Lanterns deeply sighed and said, "As for its appearance, it has 36 different forms." Song Shuhang. What kind of supernatural being is Miss Nine Lanterns describing? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 307, A Spirit Beast Senior with an Incurable Disease. Chapter 307, A Spirit Beast Senior with an Incurable Disease. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Its disposition could change at any moment, what it liked and disliked would also change frequently. Moreover, it could assume many different appearances. Did it mean that its personality would change according to each transformation? The confused Song Shuhang stepped on the dock and followed Nine Lanterns, setting out on a big road. After traveling on this road, they arrived in front of a huge palace. The palace was extremely luxurious and resembled the residence of an immortal. It wasn't something that belonged to the world of mortals. There were no guards at the entrance. Therefore, Song Shuhang and Nine Lanterns directly barged in. After entering the palace, Song Shuhang saw a row of musical instruments on both sides of the hall. There were zithers, peepers, bells, in short, all kinds of ancient musical instruments. No one was playing these instruments, but their strings were automatically moving and bells were emitting sounds on their own, creating an extremely pleasant music. It was truly a marvelous scene. In front, there was a big platform, and above this platform were 10 layers of thick animal furs. They looked very soft and comfortable. On top of these furs was lying a shining ball of lightning, perfectly still. If one were to look carefully, they would notice that the ball of lightning was actually a pig that had curled up into a ball. This one was even rounder and smoother than the one they saw on the parasol tree at the entrance to the valley. TSK. Today, it has the appearance of a pig. Nine Lanterns muttered. This form was one of the 36 forms that this Spirit Beast Senior could turn into. Moreover, this form was rather troublesome to deal with. On the platform, the huge pig surrounded by lightning slowly opened its eyes. After shooting a look at Nine Lanterns and Song Shuhang, it closed its eyes again. "Senior, I've come to see you." Nine Lanterns loudly shouted at the spirit beast lying on the platform. The pig opened its eyes once more. Then, it opened its mouth, but no words came out of it. Blue veins started to bulge faintly on Nine Lanterns' forehead. She took a deep breath and said, "Senior Lightning Pig, Nine Lanterns has come to see you." The huge pig opened its eyes again and looked at Nine Lanterns with great difficulty, uttering a single word, "Oh." After a while, it moved its body and said, "It's you, Nine Lanterns." And again after a while, the pig gasped for breath and said, "Nine Lanterns. Don't casually come here to disturb me, all right? You know that I'm very ill." The bulging blue veins on Nine Lanterns' forehead doubled in size. "Senior, what illness do you have?" "I have an incurable illness." The pig gasped for breath. It seemed as though it was about to die after saying just a few sentences. What kind of disease reduced this powerful spirit beast to this state? Song Shuhang thought to himself. What incurable illness is it? The bulging veins on Nine Lanterns' forehead seemed to have subsided a bit. "It's cancer." The huge pig bitterly smiled and said, "This disease is really too fearful." "What nonsense are you babbling about?" Nine Lanterns howled. "You're a powerful spirit beast that has reached the 7th stage Venerable Realm. How can you even get cancer?" The plump pig was unexpectedly a 7th stage Venerable, an existence on the same level as Venerable White. "I'm not lying." The huge pig had a sad expression on its face and seemed on the verge of death. Song Shuhang asked out of curiosity, "What kind of cancer is it?" Nine Lanterns rubbed her forehead and joined her palms together, starting to chant Buddhist scriptures to calm herself. The huge pig sighed deeply and said, "It's the sloth cancer, and it's already in the terminal stage. No medicine can help me." Song Shuhang. "Sloth cancer, you're a *SS. Moreover, didn't you say the last time that your anus had problems and that you wanted to change your name to Anus Pig?" Nine Lanterns had yet to finish her sentence when a huge hole suddenly appeared beneath her feet, making her fall down. "Ah!" Nine Lanterns screamed in fear, and her voice was getting more and more distant as time passed by. The hole seemed quite deep. Moreover, it surely had a formation to impede flight as to avoid 9 lanterns directly flying out of it. After 9 lanterns fell inside the pit, one of the slates moved with a clang and covered the hole once more. Cough. She never learns, does she? Last time, I clearly told her that I wanted this place to be calm and peaceful, with no yelling. But why does she forget it every time? The sloth cancer-ridden senior lightning pig muttered while putting down the remote control in its hoofed toes. Song Shuhang. After dealing with 9 lanterns, the lightning pig turned its small eyes around and looked at Song Shuhang. Little kid, who are you? My name is Song Shuhang. Nice to meet you, senior. Song Shuhang earnestly greeted the pig. The lightning pig used its leg to knock on its head. After a while, it said curiously, "Do we know each other?" Song Shuhang shook his head. Miss 9 Lanterns brought me here. It's my first time meeting you. Oh. The lightning pig nodded silently and closed its eyes. It was preparing to sleep again. Song Shuhang. Luckily, it opened its eyes again and asked, "Speaking of which, why did that little girl bring you here? What do you need from me?" "She brought me here because she was hoping to obtain the skeletal dragon's withered vine from you," Song Shuhang replied honestly. Since he didn't know what kind of disposition this senior had, it was better to tell the truth. The skeletal dragon's withered vine? Oh, so it was about the flood dragon skeleton in my possession. The lightning pig smiled. Soon after, it waved its leg and said, "Kid, I don't mind giving you the skeletal dragon's withered vine. However, my sloth cancer is flaring up and I need to rest. Can you return another time? The next time you come here, I'll gift you that thing. It's useless to me after all." Song Shuhang. Moreover, please stop staring at me like that. If you keep staring at me, I can't fall asleep, the lightning pig said while waving its leg. Song Shuhang thought a bit and asked, "Senior, you said a next time earlier, but how long is that exactly?" Around 300 years? This time, I want to sleep lure. This time, I want to try to overcome this illness with all my strength. I'll surely defeat this sloth cancer. The lightning pig clenched its teeth. Song Shuhang. This powerful senior was a rather mischievous creature, and it actually wanted to sleep for 300 years. But after 300 years, Song Shuhang might be already dead, and 16 couldn't wait for so long either. Therefore, Song Shuhang asked cautiously, "How can I obtain the skeletal dragon's withered vine a little earlier?" The lightning pig opened its eyes faintly and sighed. "By leaving me alone." Song Shuhang clenched his teeth and said, "I request senior to instruct. What does that mean?" "It means literally what it means." The lightning pig sighed with emotion. Song Shuhang obviously knew the meaning of the pig's words, but he couldn't afford to wait for 300 years. Therefore, he started to stare at it intensely, without even blinking. The lightning pig. In the next instant, the pig stretched its leg and reached out to the remote control once more. Song Shuhang's scalp went numb. That was the same remote control that had created a huge hole beneath 9 Lanterns' feet, making her fall down. Song Shuhang quickly jumped to a side as to avoid ending up like her. Naive. The lightning pig smiled coldly. The floor of the entire hall disappeared, revealing a huge abyss beneath, too deep to see its bottom. "Ah!" Song Shuhang called out in alarm as he fell into the hole. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. "Ah, and now I can finally have a good sleep. This time, I'll surely sleep for 300 years, the lightning pig muttered. Afterward, it pressed a few buttons on the remote control, restoring the floor of the hall to its previous condition. Thereafter, it closed its eyes and fell into a deep slumber. Twinkling lightning was still crackling on its round body. But as the lightning disappeared, the other side of its body became visible. There was deep wound there, so deep even its bone could be seen. Black smoke was coming out of the wound continuously, not allowing it to heal. The lightning coiling around its body was so dazzling that even 9 Lanterns didn't notice this wound. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang kept falling and falling, and he felt as though there was no bottom to this hole. I won't keep falling till I fall down from the heavenly island itself, right? Song Shuhang thought to himself. Just as he was in deep thoughts, he felt his body get lighter and float upward. After floating up for a few centimeters, he slowly fell downward. Afterward, the sound of crushed stones transmitted from beneath his feet. Have I reached the bottom? At this time, Nine Lanterns' dim voice reached him from a side. You were also thrown here, huh? Song Shuhang turned his head in the direction of the voice. He could glimpse Nine Lanterns' bare head amidst the darkness. At this time, she was sitting cross-legged on the ground with a depressed expression on her face. Miss Nine Lanterns. After seeing that she was also here, Song Shuhang relaxed a bit. How do we get out of this place? The fat pig will release us once it's done taking a nap. It did the same thing the last time, Nine Lanterns muttered. She seemed rather experienced in this matter. Song Shuhang. Song Shuhang said, speaking of which, Senior Lightning Pig said it wanted to sleep for 300 years to fight against the sloth cancer. 300 years? What a joke! Blue veins started to bulge on Nine Lanterns' forehead. What did you two talk about? Then, Song Shuhang told Nine Lanterns of the contents of the conversation between the Senior Lightning Pig and him. Damn it! Even if it wants to sleep for 300 years, it could put us out first. I won't forget about this enmity. Wait till I reach the 7th stage Venerable Realm. At the time, I'll put that pig to an eternal slumber so that it wouldn't have to wake up anymore. Nine Lanterns clenched her teeth in anger. Miss Nine Lanterns, can't we climb out of this hole? Song Shuhang asked, somewhat confused. The fat pig engraved restricting formations on all walls. We can't climb our way out, Nine Lanterns said, somewhat depressed. Moreover, the hole is covered by a powerful formation that forbids flight. Unless you're a 7th stage Venerable, you can't fly in this place. Even if you had 10 pairs of wings, it would be still useless. Then, is there a secret passage somewhere? Song Shuhang asked after pondering for a moment. The last time I fell here, I searched every nook and cranny and couldn't find anything that resembled a secret passage, Nine Lanterns said depressedly as she rested her chin in her hand. Then, how do we get out? Do we really have to wait 300 years? Don't worry. Before coming here, I made some preparations, Nine Lanterns said as she pointed at her greenish-white robe. Earlier, I changed my clothes precisely to deal with such a situation. Then, she started to take off her greenish-white robe. The nearby Song Shuhang hurried to cover his eyes. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 308, The Small White Dragon Inside the Crystal Coffin. Chapter 308, The Small White Dragon Inside the Crystal Coffin. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Why are you covering your eyes? After seeing Song Shuhang cover his eyes, Nine Lanterns didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm wearing other clothes beneath. After hearing these words, Song Shuhang moved his hands away and awkwardly smiled. Under her greenish-white monk robe, Nine Lanterns was wearing another greenish-grey robe. After taking her outer robe off, she turned it inside out. When the internal part of the robe became visible, Song Shuhang saw that it was littered with runes. After the robe was turned inside out, all the runes connected to each other, changing the robe into something that resembled a drill. He, you thought this small hole was enough to stop me? Naive! Nine Lanterns said self-satisfied. Afterward, she stretched her hand and grabbed the drill-like robe. In the next instant, the robe started to spin madly. I put together 3,000 Buddhist runes specialized in breaking restrictive formations to create this restriction-breaking drill. Even if these formations are arranged by that pig, I can still break them. Nine Lanterns said complacently. Song Shuhang. Now then, from where should I start drilling? Nine Lanterns looked all around, and identical restrictive runes covered the entire hole. Therefore, one could start drilling in any point. Miss Nine Lanterns, can you locate the position of the formation restricting flight? If you can find and destroy that formation, we can just fly out, right? Song Shuhang asked. There is no need to find it. All the formations you see are flight-restricting formations. 9 lanterns pointed at the rooms on the walls. In this place, all formations are mixed up. The entire whole is made from the combination of the flight-restricting, imprisoning, strengthening, and so on, formations. In this case, we can start from anywhere, right? Song Shuhang took his treasured saber Broken Tyrant out and said, how about spinning the saber and starting drilling in the direction the handle points to? Fine. 9 lanterns lifted the drill and replied. Song Shuhang threw Broken Tyrant into the air. The blade spun several times and fell to the ground with a ding sound. Its handle was pointing to the right front of Shuhang's current position. We'll start from there then. 9 lanterns took the drill and proceeded toward that direction, starting to drill into the wall. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The restriction-breaking runes on the drill-like rope took the shape of a golden chain, starting to revolve around the continuously spinning drill while releasing a fearful formation-breaking power. Under the influence of the drill, the restricting runes on the wall also lit up. After all, these defensive runes had been arranged by a 7th-stage venerable. It wasn't easy to break them. When the restriction-breaking drill came in contact with the restricting runes, explosive sounds echoed throughout the whole area. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang could only cover his ears and bitterly smile. In his pocket, Lady Onion was already foaming at the mouth. Since she couldn't materialize a small hand to cover her ears, she felt as though even her body had started to shake after hearing these thunderous explosions continuously. Damn it, I have only a small mouth and not even something that resembles ears. If so, why can I hear this noise so clearly? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After a short while, somewhat worried, Song Shuhang asked, Miss Lanterns, drilling through this wall is making a lot of noise. Won't Senior Lightning Pig realize what we're doing? Of course. After all, it's not deaf, 9 lanterns replied. Therefore, it can choose to throw us out, or to let us keep drilling through the wall. Song Shuhang silently nodded. Around 10 minutes later. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang was looking at the wall with an expectant look on his face. Half an hour later. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang was still looking at the wall with an expectant look on his face. 1 hour later. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang stood on a side and silently started to practice the basic Buddhist fist technique, the immovable body of the Buddha, and the virtuous man's 10,000-mile walk. 2 hours later. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang sat cross-legged and silently practiced the true self-meditation scripture. Although it was difficult to practice the true self-meditation scripture amidst these thunderous explosions, its effects were also better than usual. After another hour. Boom, boom, boom. Song Shuhang started to practice the flaming saber and the lightning palm. Another hour passed. Those explosive sounds were still going on, and Song Shuhang had started to perform gymnastic exercises. His expression was a bit stiff at this time. What should I do next? He had already practiced enough for today, and if he were to practice some more, he might harm his body. He had practiced the true self-meditation scripture too, and at this time, he was already at the 3rd round of the gymnastics exercise. Can Miss 9 Lanterns really do it? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Just when Song Shuhang was performing the 10th round of the gymnastics exercise, 9 lanterns' laughter echoed from the front. Ah, success! At the same time, the drill in her hands exploded forward like a raging volcano, and a large patch of the restricting runes crumbled, revealing a hole that was barely enough to let a person crawl into it. Come, let's dig a hole and get out. If the fat pig doesn't want to release us, we'll just create an underground passage right beneath its palace, 9 lanterns said happily. The drill in her hand danced in the air. Without the help of the restricting runes, the wall crumbled quickly. 9 lanterns started to drill through it at high speed. The drill pierced the wall, and crushed stones flew everywhere. Miss 9 lanterns, be careful not to drill till we end up in the Black Sea, Song Shuhang reminded as he followed behind her. He found the Black Sea really weird and was rather wary of it. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. If we keep drilling upwards, we'll arrive behind that fat pig and make him have a taste of this drill. 9 Lanterns giggled. Song Shuhang paused for a moment and cautiously asked, Miss 9 Lanterns, what's your current realm? I'm at the peak of the 5th stage spiritual emperor realm, and I need only a small push to break through the 6th stage and become a true monarch. However, my situation is a bit special, and you can't compare me to a normal spiritual emperor or true monarch, 9 Lanterns said. Well, even if we ignore the fact that Senior Lightning Pig already knows what we're doing, let's say you manage to let it have a taste of your drill, what do you think will happen next? A 5th stage spiritual emperor against a 7th stage venerable. Song Shuhang dropped a few hints. It was really a death-seeking behavior. Don't worry. At most, it will lock me up for a few years, nothing bad will happen, 9 Lanterns said full of confidence. Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked the most important question, what about me? Ahaha, you can accompany me in my confinement. Don't worry, time will fly by once you start meditating, 9 Lanterns said with a smile. Song Shuhang. There was no way Song Shuhang wanted to be locked up for a few years. His strength hadn't reached a realm where he could easily close up for several years in a row. At this time, he was wondering if he should use Broken Tyrant and dig in a different direction. He felt that he wouldn't end up too well if he kept following 9 Lanterns. Just as he was in deep thoughts, 9 Lanterns suddenly stopped drilling. HM? There is something strange here, 9 Lanterns said. Question mark. Song Shuhang looked at her, somewhat confused. The stone wall ahead isn't solid, there must be a secret room on the other side. 9 Lanterns affirmed. She discovered this point through the sound the drill made when it came in contact with the stone. Is it really a secret room? It's not an underground river, right? Song Shuhang asked cautiously. It can't be an underground river. The Heavenly Island is an island floating in the sky. How can there be an underground river? 9 Lanterns smiled charmingly and grabbed the drill, starting to drill ahead quickly. Crack, crack, crack. Crushed stones flew everywhere, and with a boom, the wall in the front was pierced through. Just as 9 Lanterns had predicted, a huge secret room appeared before their eyes. Afterward, she took the lead and entered the room. Song Shuhang followed behind. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Inside the secret room. When Song Shuhang saw the complete appearance of the room, he suddenly started to feel uneasy. If 9 Lanterns were to break through the floor of the hall and give Senior Lightning Pig a good drilling in the butt, the two of them would be locked up for a few years. But Song Shuhang feared that the pig would lock them up for a few decades now that they had drilled through this room. Because what 9 Lanterns had drilled through was a tomb chamber. Although they didn't know whose tomb they had barged into, just from the fact that Senior Lightning Pig had meticulously placed it beneath its palace, one could realize that it was the tomb of a close friend. If you were to dig the grave of someone's family member, it wouldn't be strange if that person tried to kill you. Song Shuhang forced a smile. Miss 9 Lanterns, I think we should leave as soon as possible. I'm of the same mind. 9 Lanterns smiled bitterly, she didn't do it on purpose. Who would have thought that there was a tomb beneath the palace? All right, let's go then. We might as well fix the wall while we are at it, shit. When he turned his head, Song Shuhang noticed that the big hole they had created while drilling through the wall had started to repair automatically, returning as new in the blink of an eye. Moreover, the glittering runes engraved on the walls of the chamber tomb were even stronger and denser than the ones on the walls of the hole. 9 Lanterns clenched her teeth. As expected, it was the doing of that fat pig. Since they were causing such a ruckus, the pig surely noticed their actions. Afterward, perhaps because it was annoyed by all that noise, he led them here and trapped them inside the tomb. After clenching her teeth, 9 Lanterns said, no matter what the fat pig is planning, since we're here, we might as well take a look around. The room wasn't too big, and there were 10 coffins in total. There was a platform in the center of the room, and on the platform was lying a huge crystal coffin with various types of white flowers on a side. Additionally, the equally huge 9 bronze coffins were positioned inside the room like a formation, firmly protecting the crystal coffin in the center. Song Shuhang and 9 lanterns approached the platform and gazed at the transparent coffin. Inside the coffin was a spirit beast with a tall and slender body. It had deer-like horns, camel-like head, rabbit-like eyes, snake-like neck, clam-like belly, fish-like scales, hawk-like claws, cat-like palms, and cow-like ears. All of these elements were merged into this spotlessly white body. A dragon! Song Shuhang opened his eyes wide. Moreover, it was a completely white dragon. It's really a dragon. 9 lanterns also opened her eyes wide. Soon after, she muttered, "Unfortunately, it didn't turn into dragon bones and there is no vine growing on it." She was still thinking of Song Shuhang's wish. This white dragon is really beautiful. Song Shuhang sighed with emotion. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. When Song Shuhang and 9 lanterns' attention was focused on the white dragon, the lid of one of the 9 coffins moved slightly. Then, a dragon's claw appeared from under the lid. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 309, Senior White's Expression Package. Chapter 309, Senior White's Expression Package. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. The dragon claw slowly pushed the lid of the coffin to a side, emitting a grating sound. 9 lanterns and Song Shuhang immediately turned their heads and kept a close watch on the bronze coffin. When Song Shuhang saw the dragon claw come out of the coffin, he exclaimed in surprise, "Is this a corpse coming back to life?" "Fear not. I excel at dealing with these things," 9 lanterns said. After all, she was the disciple of a Buddhist school and was an expert at dealing with the undead. Just as they were speaking, clang tilde, almost half of the ancient bronze coffin was uncovered, and a skeletal snake head revealed itself from the opening. Red dots of light were twinkling in its empty eye sockets, making it look very scary. 9 lanterns didn't attack immediately. After all, it was Senior Lightning Pig that had built the chamber tomb and buried the white dragon inside. Therefore, there must be a purpose to it if this skeletal snake head was here in this place. As long as the snake head wasn't the going to attack first, 9 lanterns wouldn't make a move. After gazing at Song Shuhang and 9 lanterns, the snake head opened its skeletal mouth and said, "Hello, who called me just now?" Song Shuhang. 9 lanterns replied, "No one called you." Unexpectedly, this skeletal snake had developed intellect and could even speak. "Impossible. I clearly heard someone calling me," the snake skull said while pushing the lid of the coffin almost completely open. At this time, Song Shuhang and 9 lanterns discovered that there were 2 small pointed horns on the head of the snake. It wasn't the skull of a snake, it was the skull of a flood dragon. "To fellow Taoists, my name is Dragon Bone. Now, are you sure you didn't say my name earlier?" The flood dragon pushed the lid of the coffin away and revealed half of its body. The flood dragon looked very scary from its appearance, but after exchanging a few words with it, they discovered that it was rather gentle-natured. "Dragon Bone?" 9 quietly wiped the sweat from her face. Just now, she had indeed unconsciously mentioned the 2 words, dragon and bones. In a way that only 9 lanterns could hear, the nearby Song Shuhang said in a low voice, "Miss 9 lanterns, is this skeletal flood dragon an undead or a spectre?" 9 lanterns didn't even have time to reply that the skeletal flood dragon itself started to explain, "Little fellow Daoist, I'm neither. Although there are indeed things like zombies in this world, I'm not such an existence." Song Shuhang blinked. The skeletal flood dragon had heard him even though he lowered his voice. "Let me introduce myself, I'm the sentient flood dragon puppet Dragon Bone, pleased to meet you. I can be classified as a magical treasure, and I'm a different species than zombies." The skeletal flood dragon cheerfully waved its claws at Song Shuhang. Although it had been mistaken for a zombie, it wasn't angry. Song Shuhang. "My name is 9 lanterns." 9 lanterns joined her palms together as she replied to Dragon Bone. My name is Song Shuhang, said Song Shuhang after cupping his fists. He felt that this situation was rather strange. Fellow Taoists, may I ask you why you came here? It's been a long time since we've had guests here. The lower jaw of the skeletal dragon was moving up and down, as though it was laughing. We were digging, and we carelessly dug a hole in the wall of this room, 9 lanterns replied. The red dots of light in the eyes of the dragon glittered, and he replied, so that's how it is. You carelessly barged into this place, huh? After a short pause, it smiled and added, you were thrown into the hole by Lightning Pig, right? 9 lanterns. Some things mustn't be mentioned. If you didn't understand this principle, many a friendship would be ruined. The skeletal dragon used its claw to knock on the lid of the bronze coffin, saying, well, why were you looking for Lightning Pig? 9 lanterns didn't speak. She took a step backward and allowed Song Shuhang to get in the front. Song Shuhang cleared his throat and, after cupping his hands, he said, we came here to request Senior Lightning Pig to give us the skeletal dragon's withered vine. However, Senior Lightning Pig wanted to sleep, and since it found us too noisy, it threw us here. So, your objective was the skeletal dragon's withered vine. I should have some of that weed growing on my body. The skeletal dragon smiled. Whenever I wake up, I'll have that thing growing on my body. It's rather annoying. However, plucking it off of my bones is very comfortable. It's just like extracting a thorn pricking in your skin, a very good feeling. After hearing this much, Song Shuhang's eyes lit up. Fellow Taoist Dragon Bone, can you give me some of that skeletal dragon's withered vine? Sure, it's not a problem. Moreover, I can give you quite a lot of those vines. Wait, let me see how many are there. The skeletal dragon quietly returned inside the coffin. Then, its voice echoed from the coffin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 16. After counting them, the skeletal dragon showed half of its head and said, this time, there are 16 vines. I can give them to you if you want, but you also need to help me with something. Please say. Song Shuhang was extremely excited. It's very simple. Do you see that crystal coffin in the center? The skeletal dragon pointed at the crystal coffin with the small white dragon inside. Song Shuhang silently nodded. Good, do you see that groove beside the coffin? I'll have to trouble you to go over there and pour a bowl's worth of blood into that groove. If you do it, I'll give you these vines. The skeletal dragon laughed. Song Shuhang gazed at that groove, somewhat confused. Then, his face became a bit paler. If they were talking about a bowl from the perspective of a dragon, it was something equivalent to a small wash basin. If he were to lose this much blood, he would die directly. Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Then, he turned his head and asked, do I have to fill it up? No need, no need. If you pour a bowl's worth of blood inside it will be fine, the skeletal dragon said with a laugh. Song Shuhang looked at 9 lanterns. He was worried whether pouring blood into the groove beside the crystal coffin would activate some hidden mechanism or something of the sort. Don't worry. With Senior Lightning Pig watching over us, nothing bad will happen, 9 lanterns said. Song Shuhang nodded and arrived beside the groove. Then, he stretched his arm and prepared to use Broken Tyrant to cut his wrist to pour his blood into the groove, just like those cool scenes in movies. But when he was about to cut his wrist, he started to have doubts as to where he should cut. After all, he had no experience in his matter. If he were to cut too deeply and lose too much blood, it would be a problem. And if the cut was too shallow and no blood were to come out, it would also be a problem. Miss 9 Lanterns, can you help me with the cut? Song Shuhang said with a hollow laugh. Sure. 9 Lanterns happily took Broken Tyrant from Song Shuhang's hands and cut above his wrist without second thoughts. As long as it wasn't your own arm, you wouldn't care too much when leaving a cut on it. Blood started to flow, and after seeing this endless stream of blood flow out of his body, Song Shuhang's heart twitched a little. In the blink of an eye, a bowl's worth of blood had gathered in the groove. Next, 9 Lanterns stretched her hand and grasped Song Shuhang's wrist lightly, immediately stopping the stream of blood. After the fresh blood poured into the groove, it flowed through the various channels all around the crystal coffin, wrapping the coffin completely. At this point, something inside the crystal coffin should have changed, right? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. The red dots of light in the skeletal dragon's eye sockets flickered again and again. It seemed it was looking forward to some change. But even after a long time, the crystal coffin had no changes. The skeletal dragon silently heaved a sigh. Song Shuhang turned his head around and asked, somewhat confused, "Did I fail?" It wasn't a failure, but it wasn't a success either. The skeletal dragon faintly sighed. "Do I need to pour more blood into it?" Song Shuhang asked. "Thank you, fellow Daoist, but there is no need." The red lights in the dragon's eyes regained calm. Next, it stretched its claw and passed those 16 withered vines to Song Shuhang. Song Shuhang took the vines in his hands. These withered vines were very small. Each of them had the length of a palm and was as thin as a strand of hair. If one were to carefully examine them, they would notice that these thin vines were like small lifelike sculptures of a flood dragon. They had horns, claws, and looked very pretty. The transaction is complete. Now, I'll allow you two to leave this place. Although I would like to chat with you a bit more, this place is full of dragon corpse aura. It would harm your bodies if you were to stay here for too long, the skeletal dragon said gently. In the next instant, without waiting for 9 lanterns and Song Shuhang to reply, it gently moved its claws, causing the duo to hover midair. Afterward, a passage suddenly appeared on the ceiling, and the two of them were shoved into it. After they were gone, the skeletal dragon shot a gaze at the crystal coffin, sighing. In the end, it wasn't with that guy. After sighing, the dragon stretched the upper part of its body and knocked on the bronze coffin next to him. "Dragonclaw, wake up! It's your turn to keep a watch next. I'm going to sleep for a while." Let me sleep for a few more centuries." A pure and lovely voice echoed from the nearby bronze coffin. "Sleep your *SS, get up now." The skeletal dragon started to knock on the coffin repeatedly, producing a deafening sound each time. After a while, the lid of a nearby coffin slightly moved, and a sharp claw came out of it. The skeletal dragon nodded satisfied. Then, it retreated inside its own coffin and firmly sealed it. It was planning to have a good sleep. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. At this time, in the Chu family, Softfeather was sitting on the grass with her long and slender legs slightly bent, creating a beautiful and charming arc. From time to time, she would move her little toes, looking very adorable. There was a laptop on her legs, and a lot of beautiful pictures were displayed on the screen. Amongst these pictures were Senior White Twintails Edition, Senior White Ponytail Edition, Senior White Double Braid Edition, Senior White Hair Up Edition, with all kinds of different hairstyles. There were even pictures of Senior White with what resembled ox horns and pigtails coiling up on the top of the head. Softfeather typed on the keyboard quickly and started to scroll through these pictures, trying to decide which ones to choose. There was no need to apply filters to these pictures to beautify them. Therefore, she was merely resizing them and storing them away. I was thinking to choose several pictures and send them to Senior Song. But each of these pictures is so beautiful. I'll have to send them all. Softfeather muttered. Then, she decided to organize Senior White's pictures orderly. Amongst them were the Senior White smiling expression, the Senior White stupefied expression, the Senior White cute expression, the Senior White's pouting expression, and so on. Finally, she took all these expressions and put them into a package. "I'm so clever." Softfeather silently nodded and praised herself. Then, she opened the chat program and selected the account named Stressed by a Mountain of Books, sending him the Senior White's Cute Expressions package document in offline mode. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 310, The Seventh Wish. Chapter 310, The Seventh Wish. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Softfeather, what are you doing? At this time, a gentle voice echoed from a distant place. Softfeather quickly switched off her laptop and turned her head, looking at the incoming person. This girl looked to be 25 to 26 years old, but she seemed far maturer than someone of her age. She was Softfeather's good friend and the daughter of the first wife of the leader of the Chu family, Chu Chunying. Elder sister Chu, I was chatting with a senior. Hee hee. Softfeather put the laptop away and stood up, stretching her body. Then, she trotted to Chu Chunying's side and positioned her ear on Chunying's slightly bulging belly. How is the baby? Did it kick you? How many times did it kick you yesterday? Smiling, Chu Chunying said, how can I even reply to such a question? After all, it's not like I was counting the times it was kicking me. Once I'm pregnant, I'll make sure to count them all and firmly keep them in mind. Softfeather grinned. Each time the baby kicks me, I'll note it down, and once the baby grows up, I'll make sure to make him, or her, pay the price. After gazing at the serious-looking Softfeather, Chu Chunying didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You haven't even gotten married. Isn't it a bit too early to talk about babies? Hee hee. Softfeather glued her ear to her abdomen, trying to listen to the baby's movements. Chu Chunying gently patted Softfeather's head. She was a bit envious of Softfeather. Many years had passed, and Softfeather's disposition had hardly changed. She was still the same naive girl full of enthusiasm and curiosity. Venerable Spirit Butterfly really doted on this daughter of his. On the other hand, although she was only 3 years older than her, Chu Chunying had experienced a lot of things. And after getting married, she felt as though she had become even older. When she was with Softfeather, she felt as though she was more like her mother than her elder sister. In the end, the world of cultivators was a place where the one with the strongest fist would win, and the Chu family's fist wasn't strong enough. It was precisely for this reason that they had fallen into their current predicament. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Although she had a gentle expression on her face while gazing at Softfeather, Chu Chunying still secretly sighed. She had no intention of involving Softfeather in their mess. She didn't want her to see the dark side of the world of cultivators just yet. But she hadn't expected the information network of the Spirit Butterfly Island to be so formidable. After she cut off relations with her, Softfeather came to her place directly to help her. Thank you, Softfeather, Chu Chunying said in a soft voice. Why are you thanking me? I haven't even helped you yet. Softfeather raised her head and conveniently asked, how are things going with that school? They can't deal with the Chu family by staying in the dark and playing tricks, right? If they want the sword technique, they would have to show their faces, right? They indeed want the sword technique. However, they want us to bow our heads and gift it to them, Chu Chunying said softly. The opposite party's behavior could be described as such, leading the life of a whore and wanting a monument put up to one's chastity. Softfeather clenched her teeth in anger. Elder sister Chu, how are your seniors planning to deal with this situation? The family leader said that if they want face so much, we'll not give them any. The corner of Chu Chunying's mouth rose, and her eyes narrowed. The family leader wants to force them to fight it out on the grievance settling platform. In the world of cultivators, when two factions had an unsolvable conflict, and things hadn't reached the point where they would start killing each other, they would send their representatives to fight on the grievance settling platform to resolve their grudges. On the grievance settling platform, no one would be held responsible for deaths. And after the match was over, all gratitude and grudges would be written off. Of course, they were written off just in name. If one of the two parties still harbored hatred in their hearts, there was nothing that could be done. The grievance settling platform? I want to go, I want to go. Softfeather's eyes lit up as she clenched her fist. Elder sister, let me go on stage. I'll wipe out their entire school. Softfeather's confidence came from her strength. After all, the opponent was only a small school. This school was much weaker than the Moon Saber sect that had been wiped out during the incident with Su Clan 16. Actually, it was even weaker than the Immortal Farming sect. In that small school, the strongest person was an elder that had barely reached the 4th stage realm. Moreover, their lifespan had almost come to an end. Amongst those that had reached the third stage realm were the head of the school, the vice head, as well as 3 protectors. The rest were mostly disciples that had reached the second stage. As long as that elder didn't join the fray, Softfeather alone could kill every person in their school. But even if that elder were to intervene, Softfeather wasn't afraid. Her father had prepared several treasures for her. Let alone a cultivator of the 4th stage, even if a 6th stage true monarch were to attack her, she could still escape. I understand how you feel, Chu Chunying said gently. However, no one is accountable for eventual deaths on the grievance settling platform. Moreover, only the members of our Chu family and the opposite school can fight on the platform. All external aid is forbidden. If one of the factions were to summon helpers to represent them on the grievance settling platform, the supervisor wouldn't stand there doing nothing. If someone that wasn't part of the 2 factions dared to go on stage, the supervisor would surely give them a good beating. It's fine. Before I left the island, my father gave me a magical treasure that allows me to change my appearance. With that, I can impersonate a disciple of the Chu family and fight on the platform on your behalf. Once your 2 factions apply to use the platform, the supervisor they'll send over there shouldn't be strong enough to see through my treasure, Softfeather said self-satisfied. There were many supervisors, with different levels of strength. The supervisor would be chosen according to the strength of the factions that were applying to fight on the grievance settling platform. Softfeather felt her chest, looking for her brooch. Soon after, somewhat depressed, she said, I forgot that I lent that magical treasure to Senior Song and that it is still in his possession. Thanks for your support, Softfeather. But there is no need for you to meddle in this matter. We can solve this problem on our own, Chu Chunying said with a smile. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the East China Sea, Venerable White was sitting on top of a huge whale. Dudu and the small monk had already woken up. However, they couldn't move any part of their bodies except for their eyeballs. On the huge whale, Venerable White was arranging some bamboo slips into a formation. Let's give it a try and see how it goes. I really want to explore this mysterious island. It would be good if I could find it, Venerable White muttered. The formation he had arranged seemed to be related to divination. This time, Senior White was serious about finding the mysterious island. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. On the heavenly island. Song Shuhang and 9 Lanterns rowed the lonely boat once more and returned to the temple. 9 Lanterns sat in her original position and rested her chin in her hand while tapping on the table with her fingers. Miss 9 Lanterns, do you have a paper and a brush? Song Shuhang asked. Yes, what do you need them for? 9 Lanterns passed Song Shuhang a white paper and a brush. Song Shuhang took the brush and the paper. Afterward, he wrote on the paper in shaky handwriting the following words, Skeletal Dragons Withered Vine. Once the ink had dried up, he used the paper to wrap the 16 withered vines. After he was done, Song Shuhang suddenly thought of something and asked, Miss 9 Lanterns, after my memories are sealed and I leave the island, there would be no need to delete these few words, right? After all, these withered vines were as fine as strands of hair. If he were to forget about them after leaving the island and casually throw them away, he would probably cry to death. Don't worry. Those words have nothing to do with the heavenly island. Therefore, they won't be deleted, 9 Lanterns assured him. That's good. Thank you very much. Song Shuhang heaved a sigh of relief. Aha, I really like the sentence, thank you very much. 9 Lanterns said with a smile. I'm happy that you like it. Song Shuhang tried to continue the conversation. 9 Lanterns replied stiffly, why did you say that? My happy feelings were instantly halved. Song Shuhang. 9 Lanterns gave him a supercilious look and took her notebook out, crossing out another line. 6. Fulfill a not too big and not too small wish of his. Just crossed out. This wish seemed very troublesome, but in the end, she completed it pretty easily. Now, only one last wish was left. 9 Lanterns was a bit agitated. What would her last wish be? After the 6th line was crossed, the last wish finally started to appear. 7. Lastly, I want to be a happy bride. As soon as she read the first part, Nine Lanterns' complexion changed, becoming deathly pale. She clenched her teeth and kept reading. Then, I want to bear 2 children for him, a boy and a girl. Nine Lanterns rubbed her cheeks and slammed her head against the table. Bang, bang, bang. A portion of that table made of an unknown material was smashed into pieces. Song Shuhang gazed at the convulsing Nine Lanterns and asked, "Miss Nine Lanterns, what happened?" Nine Lanterns raised her head and revealed a charming smile. "It's nothing, I was just trying to calm down." Song Shuhang opened his mouth, but no words came out. Nine Lanterns plucked the pieces of the table stuck on her forehead off and kept reading. Getting married and giving birth to children? Nine Lanterns felt that this wish was very scary. As if that wasn't enough, she had to give birth to a boy and a girl. How could she even choose the gender of the child? Well, maybe cultivators had some means to do it, but it wasn't the main problem. The main problem was giving birth to a child. This wish was really fearful. Next, I want to age with him slowly, looking at our son grow up and get married. I also look forward to seeing our daughter grow up. I want her to grow long hair, and maybe a cute fringe. I also want to dress her up in pretty clothes and make her wear cute little shoes. I remembered. Long hair. At the time, when I discovered that I had to shave my head, I must have hated it, right? Damn it, what's wrong with being bald? Why did I hate it so much at the time? Being bald has many good points. For example, I don't need to take care of my hair, and I don't need to worry about pressing it beneath my body while sleeping. Nine Lanterns kept reading. Then, once our daughter grows up, I want to see her getting married. After the wedding, we will both snuggle against each other in a sleeping bag and cry copiously. Nine Lanterns. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 311. Did someone carelessly press a button to fast forward my life? Chapter 311. Did someone carelessly press a button to fast forward my life? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. Nine Lanterns died a little inside after reading this wish. Why would I want to cry copiously? Moreover, why the hell inside a sleeping bag? What kind of wish is that? Why the hell did I make so many long-term plans when I was just a kid? Why, just why? The heart of a young girl, huh? What heart of a young girl? Isn't it more like the heart of a wife? Still wrong, it's more like the heart of a mother or a grandma at this point. This monstrosity has no relation whatsoever with the heart of a young girl. Nine Lanterns smashed her head against the table once more. The thick table couldn't take it anymore, and cracks started to appear on its surface. At last, it finally collapsed. Song Shuhang stayed silent and looked at the convulsing Nine Lanterns carefully. He was too scared to stop her. Nine Lanterns raised her head, with pieces of the table still glued to it, and looked at Song Shuhang. Was she really going to marry this man and bear 2 children for him? How did it end up like this? Moreover, the children must have different genders. How can I make this wish disappear? Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Crack, crack, crack. The sudden sound of firecrackers echoed in Song Shuhang's ear. The surrounding area was bustling with excitement. Eh? What's happening? Song Shuhang blinked a few times. At this time, he was sitting in front of a mirror, a little stupefied. Next to him were several makeup artists, putting makeup on his face. On his right side was a Rao of formal attire, and he too was wearing a black suit. Behind him were a smiling Mama Song and a pleased Papa Song. Just what the hell is happening? At last, even our Shuhang is getting married. Mama Song smiled, her eyes teary. From time to time, she would wipe the tears from her corner of the eye. Indeed. Eh? Wife, why are you crying? Our son is getting married today. Quickly wipe those tears off. Otherwise, people will make fun of you, Papa Song said in a low voice. Eh? I'm getting married? Are my ears having problems? How come I'm suddenly getting married? Wait, let me recall what happened. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang faintly remembered that he was with Tubo, Gao Mumu, and the Jujis. Together, they accompanied Lu Fei and her elder sister to an island in the East China Sea. Immediately after, the plane they had boarded had problems, making them crash on the mysterious island. Afterward, well, there was no afterward because he didn't remember anything past this point. Were my memories sealed? Song Shuhang frowned and tried to recall what had happened, but it was useless. No matter how much he tried to recall, he couldn't remember anything. It seemed his memories had been really sealed. All right, even if I don't have any recollection of what happened on the mysterious island, just what the heck is happening right now? Why are these people putting makeup on my face? And what did my mother just say? I'm getting married? What joke is this? I haven't even fallen in love yet. How come this important step was skipped, and I'm getting married directly? Did someone carelessly press a button to fast forward my life? There is something very wrong with this situation. Song Shuhang immediately recalled the 9 Provinces #1 group. Where is my mobile phone? I have to go in the group chat and ask the seniors what's happening. Just as he was thinking this, he overheard Mama Song and Papa Song's conversation. Mama Song said, "But how can I not be excited?" She wiped her tears off and continued, "For years ago, when Shuhang went on that trip with his friends, the plane crashed. And since he returned home, he has been acting like a lunatic. Back then, I had no idea what to do. All the boys in the neighborhood were getting married one after another, building their own families. And when I thought that our Shuhang couldn't get married even if he wanted to, I was very depressed. I was so sad that I couldn't sleep at night." Eh? For years? It's already been 4 years since I've come back from the mysterious island. Moreover, I've been acting like a lunatic for the whole time. Did something unexpected happen when my memories were sealed, turning me into a fool? What a horrible situation, whole 4 years spent as a lunatic. Mama Song was choking with sobs. But I didn't know that our foolish Shuhang had dated a girl 4 years ago. Moreover, this girl doesn't care about Shuhang's state and is still willing to marry him. I'm so happy, sob, sob, if Shuhang could recover from his current state, it would be even better, sob, sob. Papa Song hugged Mama Song, he patted her back gently and tried to calm her down by whispering something to her. Song Shuhang. I dated a girl 4 years ago, and she is still willing to marry me. Who might she be? Song Shuhang racked his brain and tried to remember the girls he was close to 4 years ago. The first one he recalled was his classmate Lu Fei. After all, she was the first girl to confess to him. However, it was unlikely that she would marry him if he was currently a lunatic. Their relationship wasn't that good. Next was Soft Feather. Although Song Shuhang really hoped it was her, as before, the possibility wasn't big. After all, she regarded Song Shuhang as a kind senior of the 9 Provinces #1 group that had helped her. Moreover, they had met only twice. They weren't really in love with each other. Then, there was Su Clan 16, and just like Soft Feather, Song Shuhang met her only a few times. Although the relationship between the two was slightly more complicated than Soft Feather's, the chances of 16 being the bride were still low. After all, the Spirit River Su Clan was a very powerful family, and its influence wasn't inferior to that of a big sect such as the Limitless Demon Sect. If 16 wanted to get married, it wasn't easy, especially if the groom was blockhead mode Song Shuhang. Except for these 3, there was Lady Onion who was still stuck on the Enlightenment Stone. But Lady Onion wished she could bite him to death. Let alone marry him, she was probably hoping for him to die as soon as possible. Wait, where did Senior White go when I lost my memory 4 years ago? Does it mean that even Senior White couldn't cure me in my state and had no choice but to leave? In this case, did he leave behind a message or something? What a headache, after all, he had lost 4 years' worth of memories. Just as Song Shuhang was in distress, Papa Song stepped forward and changed into a formal attire. Then, he pulled Song Shuhang up. "Let's go, son. Today is your big day. Remember, don't cause a scene. Papa Song patted Song Shuhang's shoulder and brought him downstairs. Song Shuhang bitterly smiled and followed Papa Song. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. The wedding was held at Wenju City's cathedral. Song Shuhang hadn't misheard, the wedding was really held in Wenju City's church. The church was a very famous spot in Wenju City, and a lot of people would choose to hold their weddings there. However, Song Shuhang felt a bit awkward at the thought of getting married inside a cathedral. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Papa Song accompanied Song Shuhang to the wedding car. Afterward, they headed toward the cathedral together. When he got out of the car, Song Shuhang saw that there were already a lot of people waiting beside the cathedral. There were grown-up versions of Tubo, Gao Mumu, Youngda, Zhuge Zhongyang, Zhuge Yu, and so on. On a side, there were also Lu Fei and her elder sister. As expected, Lu Fei wasn't the bride. Except for this group of people from his university, there were also a lot of his childhood friends and people from the neighborhood, as well as a large number of relatives. After seeing Song Shuhang appear, these close relatives and friends came forward one after another to congratulate him. After following the long red carpet, Papa Song and Song Shuhang entered the church. Since Song Shuhang's mental state wasn't normal, Papa Song had to lead him personally. As he entered the big church, Song Shuhang saw even more relatives and close friends. At the same time, a woman wearing a white wedding dress came toward him while being led by a middle-aged man. A white veil was covering her face. This veil was rather uncommon, it wasn't transparent, but was made of white gauze cloth, and series of pearls were attached to it. They covered her face completely, and Song Shuhang couldn't tell who she was even after carefully looking at her. Although he couldn't see her face, he noticed that this woman had a very good stature. Her silhouette was a perfect double S. The parts that had to be big were big, and the parts that had to be slim were slim. With such a good stature, as long as her face wasn't too bad, she would be regarded as a beauty. But what was her real identity? Song Shuhang was very curious as to who this woman that had decided to marry him regardless of his current state was. She wasn't just using him as a scapegoat, right? When the woman arrived in front of him, Song Shuhang restrained his curiosity and stretched out his hand, taking the hand of the soon-to-be bride from the middle-aged man. Then, he supported her by the arm, just like a proper bridegroom. Mama Song cried tears of joy. Papa Song was also very happy. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. The wedding march continued. Papa tilde. Song Shuhang pulled the hand of his soon-to-be wife and arrived in front of the priest presiding over the wedding ceremony. Perhaps because he knew about Song Shuhang's mental state, the priest didn't waste time on useless talk. He didn't ask any of those classic questions, such as, do you promise to be faithful to her in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, to love her and to honor her all the days of your life, or do you promise to be faithful to him in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, to love him and to honor him all the days of your life? Or such as, do you take her to be your wife, or do you take him to be your husband? After getting on the altar, the priest opened the Bible and started to pray for the newlyweds and blessed them to stay together till death did them apart. Afterward, he didn't waste further time, and the scene immediately jumped to the exchange of rings. They were doing things in the simplest way possible. Song Shuhang restrained his curiosity and exchanged rings with the bride. Both he and the bride were wearing rings with huge diamonds on top of them. But even at this moment, Song Shuhang couldn't believe what was happening. His current state of mind could be summed up with the following sentence, "Sheet, I'm really getting married. I pray to God to give you two happiness." The priest gave his blessings to the newlyweds. But the most important moment was finally approaching. Song Shuhang stretched out his hand and gently lifted the veil decorated with pearls the bride was wearing. I really want to see who this woman is, the woman that has decided to marry me regardless of my state for the past 4 years. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 312, A series of pregnancies just by holding hands. Chapter 312, A series of pregnancies just by holding hands. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. When Song Shuhang lifted the veil, he saw a delicate small face that was very pale due to all the makeup. Anyway, she was indeed a beautiful woman, and although she had a valiant look in her eyes, her gentle features helped to mitigate this feeling. After seeing her face, Song Shuhang was a bit confused. He had no memory of this girl. What was her real identity? Song Shuhang found her face familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen her. Wait, does she have something to do with the memories I lost on the mysterious island? Perhaps she is someone I met during those 4 years I don't remember anything of? Although he was in deep thoughts, Song Shuhang kept lifting the veil slowly. Eh? There is something wrong. Where is her hair? Where was the hair of the bride? Although he had lifted the veil enough to uncover her ears, there was still no trace of her hair. Usually, shouldn't you see the long and pitch-black hair of the bride by this time? There is indeed something wrong. Song Shuhang kept lifting the veil slowly. Originally, one would lift the veil and hang it on the hair of the bride, making the spouse look even more beautiful. But when Song Shuhang lifted the veil, there was no hair to hang it on. Therefore, he had no choice but to uncover her whole head. In the next instant, a bald, shining head appeared in front of his eyes. When the lamps inside the church shone on the bald head, it refracted light in all directions, looking very dazzling. Cough, no bright pitch-black hair? Song Shuhang was flustered and grabbed the veil, covering half of the head of the bride. The beautiful bride was very calm, and a mysterious smile was hanging on her face. Let's give our blessings to the newlyweds. The priest took the lead and started to clap his hands. Afterward, all the friends and relatives applauded and gave their blessings to the couple too. Song Shuhang's mind was completely blank at this moment. The shining bald head in front of his eyes was confusing his mind with the ray of light it was refracting, making him unable to concentrate. But in the next moment, he had an epiphany. Now, he remembered. He finally remembered where he had met his soon-to-be wife. She was the same Buddhist nun he met in Lady Onion's memories. How come she suddenly appeared in front of me, and as my wife at that? This must be a joke. I only saw her once, and it was inside a dream. Although Lady Onion and I enjoyed her body inside the dream, it was still a dream. Anyway, what's happening? And why are we getting married? Author, who the hell wrote this chapter? Cut, cut, cut. This is like beating a dead horse. Okay, let's calm down first. Did I meet her when I landed on the mysterious island? From what he remembered, there was a string of karma linking him to Lady Onion and 9 lanterns who was at the time in the city in the sky. Then, did I decide to spend my life with her while I was on the mysterious island? It must be something like that. Damn it, why did I lose all my memories? If there were some small fragments left behind, I wouldn't be in such a bad situation. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang's mind was in confusion, and from beginning to end, the soon-to-be wife, wait, more like already married wife, didn't utter a word. And just in this fashion, the wedding ceremony concluded. Afterward, Song Shuhang and the wife entered the nuptial chamber under the escort of relatives and close friends. Originally, the groom and the bride should offer toasts and the likes, but given Song Shuhang's current state, these parts were skipped. So, we're going into the nuptial chamber? It should be snoo-snoo time, right? But won't such a scene get censored? I've heard that rules have gotten pretty strict lately. At this time, the wife said in a gentle voice, Shuhang. Yes? Song Shuhang replied stiffly. This is a very important moment, let's have a child. The wife's face was expressionless, but her cheeks were red, she seemed very embarrassed. Isn't it a bit too early for that? Having children is something that will affect our whole lives. Song Shuhang swallowed a mouthful of saliva. At the very least, I would like to know what happened in these past 4 years. For example, what happened between us on the mysterious island? You should be aware of the fact that I don't remember anything. This isn't a big deal. I have a lifetime to explain to you what happened. Come, hold my hand first. The wife took her white glove off and placed her hand in front of Shu Hang. I have to hold your hand? Song Shu Hang was a bit confused but still took the hand of his wife. Yes. After you hold my hand, we'll be able to have a child, the wife replied. What? Song Shu Hang was baffled. This is the best way to proceed. Even if we go inside the nuptial chamber, all the action will be censored. The best thing to do is hold our hands, and that'll be enough to have a child, the wife said shyly. Right, I want a boy first and a daughter next. F tilde 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 CK? Song Shu Hang felt that his head was about to explode. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 9 months had passed. In this case, it happened literally in the blink of an eye. Song Shu Hang blinked only once after holding the white and tender hand of his wife, and in the next instant, he was inside the delivery room of a hospital. His wife was weakly lying on the bed and looking at him with a gentle gaze. On the side, Papa Song and Mama Song had exaggerated smiles on their faces. Mama Song smiled happily. Shu Hang, husband, it's a boy. We have a grandson now. Indeed, look at the nose of the child, it's very similar to Shu Hang's. His round face is also very cute. Papa Song gently hovered his hand above the head of the baby, not daring to touch him for fear of harming him. Song Shu Hang. F tilde 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 CK. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Time kept flying by. After another blink of his eyes, Song Shu Hang discovered that his son had grown up. He was 2 years old now. The boy was riding Song Shu Hang piggyback and happily shouting. Afterward, Shu Hang stood absent-mindedly in the courtyard and accompanied his son who was playing with bamboo leaves. On a side, his mysterious wife was smiling calmly. At this time, she had grown black hair. It wasn't too long, but it still reached her shoulders and looked very pretty. This long hair reduced the valiant aura she was giving off and added a point of gentleness on her face. Shu Hang, the calm wife said gently, hold my hands again. This time, I want to give birth to a cute daughter. Song Shu Hang. Then, he steeled himself and stretched his arm out, firmly grabbing his wife's small hand. Next, he blinked of his own volition. Time flew by once more, and literally in the blink of an eye, 9 months had passed. He was once more inside a hospital, and his son, who was still riding him piggyback, was already 3 years old. At this time, he was curiously looking at his mother, who was lying in bed, with his bright and big eyes. The wife lay on the bed weakly, her face full of happiness. Shu Hang, it's a daughter this time. Isn't she beautiful? Song Shu Hang. On a side, Mama Song laughed happily. It's a girl, it's a girl. We have a granddaughter now. Good, good. We have a lovely granddaughter now. Hopefully, she won't be as mischievous as our grandson. Papa Song rubbed his hands and carefully gazed at the baby in Mama Song's arms. F tilde 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 CK. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Song Shu Hang blinked once more, and this time, the time skip lasted 3 years. His 6-year-old son was already going to school, and his wife was making their 3-year-old cute daughter wear pretty clothes. She tied her a long ponytail and made her wear a pair of lovely shoes. Their daughter was holding a balloon in her hand, happily playing in the courtyard. The wife gently stood beside him. At this time, her hair had already reached the waist. It's not over yet? Song Shu Hang secretly heaved a sigh. Although he didn't know what was happening, he knew that there was something wrong with this world. He tried to pinch his thigh secretly, but nothing happened. What he was experiencing wasn't a dream. Papa, Papa. Why do you look so unhappy? At this time, his 3-year-old cute daughter ran over and held Song Shu Hang's leg. Then, she raised her head and looked at Song Shu Hang with her sparkling eyes. Eh? Song Shuhang looked at his daughter, somewhat confused. If you're unhappy, let little Miao smile at you. Afterward, you should become happy, right? The daughter said while revealing a bright smile. It was like the smile of a goddess. Song Shuhang felt as though his body and mind had been healed. He felt that as long as he had such cute children, he could keep living in this world even if it was full of strangeness. It feels good to have a daughter. Song Shuhang bent down and picked his daughter up. Then, just as he was preparing to enjoy some quality time with his cute daughter, the world before his eyes went black. In the next moment, he found himself in the middle of a familiar church. Mama Song and Papa Song were also standing beside him. They had aged considerably. Papa Song sighed with emotion. Time sure flies by. In the blink of an eye, even Rena is getting married. I remember Shuhang's marriage as though it was yesterday. Mama Song also sobbed. Time is unforgiving. In just an instant, even Rena is about to have a child. We'll hold a great-grandson soon. Damn it, I was just about to enjoy some time with my cute daughter. How come there was a time skip and my son is getting married? This time skip was too big. What about my cute little daughter? Moreover, there is something wrong with what my mother said. Rena, who should be my son, is just getting married, right? How come they are already talking about holding a great-grandson? It makes no sense. But very soon, Song Shuhang obtained his answer. After his son Rena stepped on the red carpet and went toward the bride, who was currently in a pretty wedding dress, Song Shuhang noticed that her belly was bulging. His son got the bride pregnant first, and they were marrying only now. F tilde 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 ck. Shuhang's wife held his trembling hands and flashed a gentle smile. At this time, her hair had grown very long, reaching her legs. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 313, Shaving Her Head and Exchanging the Grey Robe for a White Dress. Chapter 313, Shaving Her Head and Exchanging the Grey Robe for a White Dress. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. He unexpectedly got the girl pregnant before marrying her. Look, if I don't give this boy a good beating after the wedding ceremony, Song Shuhang thought to himself. After heaving a sigh, he entered the church with his wife, getting ready to attend his son's wedding. But just as he took a step forward, his position shifted, and he found himself beside the bride. What happened? Why did I suddenly appear beside the bride? Shouldn't the father of the bride be standing here? Song Shuhang shot a look at the bride and saw a grown-up version of his daughter, little Miao. At this time, he was supporting her by the arm, and they were both walking on the red carpet with smiles plastered all over their faces. Then, the door of the church opened, and a handsome man came in while passionately looking at his daughter, little Miao. F tilde 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 ck. In a mere instant, we went from my son getting married to my daughter getting married. Damn it, who is this dirty pig eyeing my cute daughter little Miao? Boy, come here. I promise I won't kill you. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the evening of the same day, Song Shuhang and his wife Nine Lantern snuggled against each other inside a sleeping bag and cried copiously. Song Shuhang was rather confused and couldn't understand why he was crying inside a sleeping bag. When did I become so attached to this strange world? After all, haven't I only gone through a bunch of time skips? However, he had no way to control his tears that kept flowing copiously. He felt as though he had really spent more than 20 years with these children of his before seeing them getting married. This feeling was really strange. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Buzz? Song Shuhang suddenly felt his head become heavier and his body trembled all over. In the next instant, when he opened his eyes, he discovered that he was still squatting down in the corner of the temple. He was holding a Buddhist scripture in his hands, and on top of this scripture were watermarks left behind by tears. Just what happened? Song Shuhang quickly wiped his tears. The scene of a grown man squatting down in a corner and crying was just too disgraceful. Was it a dream? But can a dream be so realistic and weird? Moreover, why did I dream about getting married to 9 lanterns? This was simply unscientific. Whether it was Soft Feather, 16, or even his classmate Lu Fei, they were all more suitable than 9 lanterns to become his brides. Was it a stranger phenomena caused by the string of karma attached to Lady Onion's body? Song Shuhang quietly shot a glance toward 9 lanterns, but she wasn't in the room at this time. Did she leave while I was dreaming? Song Shuhang closed the book and sat on the ground, leaning against the wall and resting. Why do I feel so tired? And why is my body aching? Even after he rested for a while, 9 lanterns didn't return. Song Shuhang was a little confused at the moment. After pondering for a moment, he decided to look for 9 lanterns in the back of the temple. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Inside a small room in the back of the temple. 9 lanterns stretched her hand and used it to cut her hair. The pitch-black hair that had grown till reaching her calf gently fell to the ground, sprinkling all over the floor. Strands of hair fell one by one, and soon she returned to being the bald Buddhist nun 9 lanterns. After all her hair fell to the ground, she joined her palms together and chanted a scripture, all phenomena are like an illusion, dew, and lightning. When she started to read the scripture aloud, a red hand appeared in front of her out of nowhere. This red hand was holding an exquisite crystal ball. On the crystal ball, something that resembled the river of time could be faintly seen. It seemed as though time and space were all within the grasp of this hand. Many scenes were appearing one after another on the crystal ball. It was precisely the contents of Song Shuhang's dream. His marriage, having a son and a daughter, aging with his wife, seeing his children getting married. All these scenes, were they nothing but an illusion? No, that wasn't the case. Just from the fact that 9 lanterns' hair had grown till reaching her calf, one could understand that it wasn't merely an illusion. Song Shuhang's tired and aching body could also confirm that it wasn't an illusion. In that case, was it real? That wasn't the case either. After all, his son, Song Ren, and his daughter, Song Miao, weren't real entities. Then, what had exactly happened? Was it reality, or was it illusion? What was certain was that this experience was vastly different from that illusory reality unleashed by 7th-stage venerables, to the point that they were almost opposite concepts. One could perhaps call this experience of a real illusion. Even 9 lanterns, who had experienced it firsthand, couldn't properly explain what had happened. Her realm wasn't high enough. Your wishes from back then are completed. Do you understand now? The dignified voice of a man echoed in 9 lanterns' ear. 9 lanterns slightly lowered her eyes and said calmly, although I have completed those wishes, my understanding of things hasn't become clearer. On the other hand, I feel even more confused. The man with a dignified voice heartily laughed and said, 9 lanterns, what a strange answer. Do you even know what I was referring to? 9 lanterns replied with a smile, I don't know for sure, but there is still something I was able to understand from his experience. After she said this much, the grey robe she was wearing fluctuated. In the next instant, it disappeared and got replaced by a white dress. Her straw sandals also caught fire and were reduced to ashes. 9 lanterns stepped into the air barefooted and golden lotuses appear beneath her jade-white feet at each step, allowing her to walk in the air as though she was walking on earth. Not a single speck of dust could dirty her feet. Her strength had increased exponentially, and as long as she wanted, she could transform the golden core inside her body into a spirit lake, and after crossing the heavenly tribulation, she would finally break through the 6th stage true monarch realm. However, 9 lanterns wasn't in a hurry to break through. She gently waved her hand and the long hair scattered on the ground suddenly caught fire, instantly changing into ashes. At the same time, the red hand that had appeared in front of her also disappeared. Then, she smiled and turned her head around. And just as she turned around, Song Shuhang appeared at the entrance of the small room. Miss 9 lanterns, I finally found you. Eh? Song Shuhang looked at 9 lanterns and blinked a few times. He saw the picture of a fairy maiden in a white dress floating into the air, with her bare feet stepping on golden lotuses. Her overbearing stature created a sharp contrast with the golden lotuses and the white dress, making her appear pure and holy. Unfortunately, it was a bald fairy maiden. After seeing 9 lanterns wearing this white dress, Song Shuhang unconsciously thought of the 9 lanterns in the dream who was wearing a white wedding dress. At this time, he wondered if he's still dreaming and had yet to wake up. Do you find it attractive? 9 lanterns looked at Song Shuhang and narrowed her eyes, smiling brightly. Song Shuhang gave her the thumbs up. It's very pretty. You almost look like a different person with this white dress on. It's so dazzling that I almost got blinded. Aha waha. 9 lanterns laughed loudly. The term dazzling seems very appropriate. I like it. Song Shuhang didn't say anything this time. He was somewhat used to 9 lanterns' frequent brain convulsions by now. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. You have stayed on the heavenly island for quite some time, 9 lanterns said. At first, I was thinking to let you stay here for many days and act as a host, but now, my realm has advanced and I'm about to break through. I can't tend to a guest anymore. Miss 9 lanterns, it doesn't matter. You've already helped me a lot, and I really don't know how to thank you for that. Since you're about to break through, I won't keep bothering you. I hope you can lead me to that mysterious place where I can seal my memories and leave. Song Shuhang didn't dare to use pleasantries to try to convince 9 lanterns otherwise. What if she really decided to let him stay here for a few more days? Don't be in a hurry. 9 lanterns faintly smiled. Then, she snapped her fingers and said, before you leave the island, I'll offer you a present provided by someone else. Take Lady Onion out of your pocket. 300 years ago, she stole a volume of the Buddhist Roaring Lion's technique from my hands, and now that your mouth aperture is about to open, this technique will come in handy. Lady Onion, hand over the technique so that I can teach it to Song Shuhang. At the same time, I can also give you 1 or 2 pointers. Song Shuhang took Lady Onion out of his pocket. Lady Onion was trembling all over as she produced a volume out of nowhere, handing it over to 9 lanterns. Song Shuhang silently gazed at the volume. This volume contained the Roaring Lion's technique, a Buddhist technique. Song Shuhang felt that the number of Buddhist techniques in his possession kept increasing steadily. But for the sake of opening his mouth aperture, he had to endure. At worst, after reaching the 2nd stage realm, he would cleanse his soul by practicing Daoist and scholarly techniques. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the East China Sea, a huge whale was slowly moving on the surface of the sea. The formation is pointing southwest, huh? Song Shuhang must be in that direction. Venerable White received the formation and pointed his finger southwest, saying, let go in that direction. The huge whale spurted out some steam and headed southwest, as though it had understood the meaning of Senior White's words. If I keep going in this direction, even if I don't find the mysterious island, I should be able to find Shuhang who is on the island, Venerable White muttered to himself. Of course, if he could find the mysterious island itself, it would be even better. After all, he was very interested in that place. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. At the time, on a lone island in the East China Sea, a black-haired girl wearing a black dress was dashing forward at high speed. Her body was very agile, and she was jumping around in the forest of the island like a small cat. In the rear, a bull-like stocky man was chasing after her. Choo-choo, this island is so small and you have nowhere to run. Why don't you just surrender? After all, we 3 brothers are tender-hearted toward beautiful women, we might give you a way out of this predicament. On the left side of this stocky man was another person with very long arms. This man somewhat resembled a monkey, and his speed in the forest was very quick, even faster than the nimble black-haired girl in the front. On the right side was instead a wolf-like man that was running on the ground with his 4 limbs. He had a cold look on his face as he said in a grave tone, Bull 2, enough with this nonsense. Let's separate and surround her, we can't let her escape and return to the Chu family. If you pay someone, you can have them do the dirty work for you. These three brothers had similarly received a payment and were now trying to stop this talented girl of the Chu family from returning to her clan and participating in the competition on the grievance settling platform. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 314, The Damaged Southern Heavenly Gate. Chapter 314, The Damaged Southern Heavenly Gate. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. The black-haired girl clenched her teeth and dashed forward. The bull-like stocky man wasn't too quick-witted. Although the island was small, the ocean was vast and boundless. Moreover, Chu wasn't like those resentful spirits that were anchored to a place. She could leave the island without problems. As long as she could leave the island and get into the sea, she was confident in escaping them by relying on her excellent swimming ability. While dashing toward the sea, Chu tore part of her skirt off as to avoid getting hindered by it while running. Ape 4, stop her, quick! The wolf-like man running on his 4 limbs bellowed. Next, the man with long arms sped forward, quickly reducing the distance between him and Chu. However, he was still a tad slower than her. Chu closed in on the sea. Afterward, she jumped and submerged in the water like a beautiful mermaid, disappearing beneath the surface of the sea. Her swimming ability was indeed top-notch. Although the 3 men chasing her could also swim, they were no match for Chu's speed. What a pity, she managed to get into the water. We were so close to enjoying that little girl, Bull 2 said while standing on the shore and picking his nose. The wolf-like man gave him a supercilious look. He really didn't know how to deal with this idiotic Bull 2. Next, he stretched out his hand and tapped on the communication device beside his ear, saying, Shark 9, Whale 8, that girl managed to run into the sea. Gather a few people and go catch her. After saying this much, he tapped on the device once more to change the channel. Fox 10, preparations are complete, you should also get ready to go into action. We'll try to force that girl into a hopeless situation and give you a chance to befriend her and obtain the sword technique from her hands. Remember, you'll have only one opportunity. They too were coveting the sword technique of the Chu family. Those guys from the illusory sword schools thought they had sealed all information off, but there were already quite a few sects and schools that knew about the Chu family sword technique. However, most of these sects and schools were very strong and had no use for this small sword technique. As for the illusory sword school, it was precisely that small school that was trying to create difficulties for the Chu family. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the Heavenly Island, inside that beautiful sea of flowers with missing patches beside Nine Lanterns Temple. Roar tilde the deafening roar of a lion echoed throughout the surrounding area. This roar was capable of intimating and scaring whoever listened to it. This technique was precisely the Buddhist roaring lion's technique. Song Shuhang received a few pointers from Nine Lanterns and started to practice the technique. At this time, his roar already carried a hint of the demeanor of the King of the Beasts. Nine Lanterns sat cross-legged in midair, with 2 golden lotuses supporting her body. Not bad. I barely taught you anything and you've already grasped the fundamentals of the technique. Now, you only need to practice diligently. Moreover, if you obtain an innate skill after opening your mouth aperture, it should have a pretty good effect if you use it together with the Roaring Lion's technique. After saying this much, she shot a glance at the nearby Lady Onion, who was still stuck to the Enlightenment Stone. Come, you should also give it a try. A small mouth appeared on her green onion sprout. Afterward, she also roared, Meow tilde. Song Shuhang. Nine Lanterns. Were you trying to act cute just now? What I taught you is the Roaring Lion's technique, therefore, try to roar like a lion. Nine Lanterns tried to keep her emotions under control. Try once more. This time, be sure to roar as loudly as you can. On the Enlightenment Stone, Lady Onion swayed left and right, as though she was gathering power. In the next instant, she opened her mouth and roared, Meow, meow, meow tilde. Bulging blue veins appeared on Nine Lanterns' forehead. Stop fooling around. What I taught you is the Roaring Lion's technique, not the Roaring Cat's technique. If you dare to meow again, I'll pluck your green onion sprout. I'll give you one last chance. Try to copy what Song Shuhang did and roar with all your strength. 9 Lanterns threatened Lady Onion while wearing a scary smile on her face. Lady Onion's body trembled all over. Then, her green onion sprout swayed once more. This time, she seemed to have accumulated enough energy to perform the technique. Meow, sob tilde meow, sob tilde sob, sob tilde. Toward the end, Lady Onion had started to cry. The bulging blue veins on 9 Lanterns' forehead increased thricefold. Seeing the situation, Song Shuhang tried to save Lady Onion. Ahoom! Miss 9 Lanterns, restrain your anger. Seeing Lady Onion's appearance, I don't think she's doing it on purpose. Maybe this technique isn't compatible with her? Moreover, she's still very small right now. Perhaps she'll be able to use it correctly once she reverts to her previous state? 9 Lanterns furrowed her brows. Forget it. Lady Onion can learn the Roaring Lion's technique from you later. I don't care anymore. Song Shuhang made a hollow laugh and put Lady Onion and the Enlightenment Stone away. Lady Onion was moved and was on the verge of tears. 9 Lanterns beckoned with her hand and said, "All right, you already understood the fundamentals of the Roaring Lion's technique. Be sure to carefully practice it after leaving the island. It will be of great help in opening your mouth aperture." After saying this much, she stood up and arrived in front of Song Shuhang by walking on the golden lotuses appearing beneath her feet at each step. Then, she stretched her hand toward Song Shuhang and said, "Come, it's time for you to leave the island." Song Shuhang got excited immediately. He was finally going to leave the heavenly island. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Unknowingly, a huge red moon had appeared in the sky of the heavenly island. 9 Lanterns pulled Song Shuhang's hand and stepped on the golden lotuses, rising into the sky with each step. After each step, the golden lotuses beneath her feet would disappear and reappear in the place she was about to step on. Golden lotuses were blooming and withering with her each step. So cool! Song Shuhang thought to himself. Unfortunately, it was a Buddhist technique, and you would turn bald if you kept using it. On the other hand, just how cool would be the scene of a scholarly man stepping in the air with golden lotuses blooming under their feet? Miss 9 Lanterns, are we headed toward the most mystical place on the island? Song Shuhang asked. To his understanding, it was time for him to seal his own memories. But he was very curious as to why the seniors in the group chat decided to seal their own memories before leaving the heavenly island. What secret was the island hiding? Even the seniors in the group were willing to have their memory sealed to protect it. The place we're heading to is the real heaven, 9 Lanterns said with a smile. The real heaven? Is it a place somewhere in the sky? Song Shuhang thought to himself. While he was rising higher and higher in the sky, he saw a few black dots on the edge of the forest. It was the group of the old professor that had separated from them earlier. Miss 9 Lanterns, can I ask you a favor? Could you help those people come out? After all, the heavenly island is a very dangerous place, and it's very easy for a mortal to lose their life here. Song Shuhang asked 9 Lanterns a favor. It was the best he could do to help those passengers. If 9 Lanterns was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. Don't worry. Mortals aren't in danger in this place. We usually don't force mortals to leave. Only if they go into the ancient city and carry out the transaction in the starry house will they be able to leave the island, 9 Lanterns said with a smile. After hearing her reply, Song Shuhang was immediately relieved. Afterward, the two of them kept rising higher and higher in the sky. They kept going till they arrived in front of that huge red moon. At this time, Song Shuhang discovered that the huge red moon in the sky was in truth the entrance to a long, long tunnel. The insides of the tunnel were full of red light. Therefore, if one were to look at it from below, they would mistakenly believe that it was a circular red moon. Let's enter. 9 Lanterns took the lead and entered that red-colored passage. Song Shuhang also entered the tunnel, since he was being led by the hand. Speaking of which, 9 Lanterns has been holding my hand for quite some time now. She won't get pregnant, right? Blia, blia, blia. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. After entering the tunnel and traveling for 100 or so meters, Song Shuhang felt the scenery before his eyes brighten. What appeared before his eyes was a paradise filled with magical mist and a myriad of glittering golden rays, and above the thick layer of clouds was a gigantic gate. The gate was deep green in color and seemed as though it was made of glass. It was shining very brightly, as though it had been adorned with precious stones. There was also a signboard on top of the gate, and 3 dazzling words were engraved on it: Southern Heavenly Gate. But these 3 words were written with 2 different handwritings. The words till Southern He Dasher were written by one person, while the following Heavenly Gate was written by another person with different handwriting. It almost seemed as though someone had cleaved the signboard in 2 and the missing part had been added later by a different person. It wasn't only the signboard, the huge and magnificent gate also seemed to have been fixed several times. It was easy to neglect at the first glance due to the blinding light the gate was emitting, but if you were to examine the gate closely, one would notice that it was damaged in many spots. The Southern Heavenly Gate? The same Southern Heavenly Gate of the Heavenly City in Legends? Song Shuhang turned his head around and looked at 9 lanterns. The Southern Heavenly Gate itself wasn't a big deal since there were tons of Southern Heavenly Gates in China. However, the Southern Heavenly Gate Shuhang saw right now reminded him of the Southern Heavenly Gate of the legendary Heavenly City. Moreover, this place was called the Heavenly Island. Was it possible that this Heavenly Island was in truth the Heavenly City in Legends that ruled over the whole world? This is indeed the Southern Heavenly Gate. However, we aren't in the Heavenly City you think of. 9 lanterns looked at the dazzling gate before her eyes and sighed with emotion. Just what's happening? Song Shuhang asked while looking at the badly damaged and patched Southern Heavenly Gate. Each cultivator would ask the same question after coming here, 9 lanterns replied. Let alone cultivators, every man that knew about Chinese legends would ask this question, Song Shuhang thought to himself. 9 lanterns started with her explanation. According to what a senior told me, the Heavenly City was blown to smithereens in the past. Anyway, the Heavenly City in Legends and the Heavenly City I'm talking about are 2 completely different entities. The fact that this gate is also called Southern Heavenly Gate is merely a coincidence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 3:15, the conversation suddenly became serious. Chapter 3:15, the conversation suddenly became serious. Translator, God Brandy Editor, Karisu. The Heavenly City was blown to smithereens? Although 9 lanterns said that this Heavenly City and the one mentioned in Legends weren't the same, Shuhang was still shaken after hearing this sentence. How was it destroyed? Song Shuhang asked out of curiosity. Since it was called Heavenly City, even if it wasn't as powerful as the Heavenly City in Legends, it should have been still a huge influence, right? How could such a place be blown to smithereens? 9 lanterns replied, there are many theories. Theory number 1, the person who established the Heavenly City, the Heavenly Emperor, was researching a fearful magical technique. Later, the power of the technique went out of control, and the entire city was blown to smithereens. According to this theory, even the Heavenly Emperor himself was reduced to ashes during the explosion. Although the top cultivators in the world think that someone as powerful as the Heavenly Emperor wouldn't die due to a mere explosion, the fact that the Heavenly Emperor hasn't shown himself since then is still true. Therefore, people started to think that something might have happened to him. Song Shuhang. He carelessly made the city explode while researching a powerful magical technique? Couldn't he have conducted this research in a better place? This is as stupid as developing an atomic bomb in your courtyard. Was this Heavenly Emperor trying to seek death? Theory number 2, according to this theory, the Heavenly City was encircled and attacked by several powerful influences. Amongst these influences were the Netherworld realm, the Beast realm, the Ghost realm, and several others. After being besieged from several sides, the Heavenly City finally fell and was destroyed. 9 lanterns raised 2 fingers as she explained. Song Shuhang silently nodded. This theory actually made sense. Next, Shuhang imagined a scene where monsters, demons, ghosts, evil spirits, and beasts were besieging the heavenly city. At last, the heavenly city fell under the attack of the enemy. What a shocking scene! Theory number 3. According to this theory, the current will of the heavens plotted against the heavenly city, and the city was blown to smithereens in the span of a night. The previously bustling city vanished into thin air in a mere instant. 9 Lanterns raised the third finger. After saying this much, she narrowed her eyes and asked, "Then, which of the 3 theories do you find more reasonable?" Song Shuhang shook his head and replied honestly, "Miss 9 Lanterns, I was an ordinary boy not too long ago, and I've been cultivating only for a few months. I don't even know what the heavenly city is. I'm afraid I can't answer your question." "What a party pooper! Can't you casually guess?" 9 Lanterns said as she finally let Song Shuhang's hand go. At this time, Song Shuhang discovered that the cloud beneath his feet was actually solid and that he could stand on it without falling down. After taking a few steps on the cloud out of curiosity, he thoughtlessly replied, "It's pointless to make a casual guess as moreover, rather than the 3 theories, I'm more interested in this current will of the heavens you mentioned in the 3rd theory. If there is a current will of the heavens, is there a previous one too? That will of the heavens represented the ultimate truth, the origin of things, the noumenon, the law, the principle of things, and so on. It was the principle and foundation of all the things in the universe. It also had a very close relation to cultivation in general. However, could something like the will of the heavens be divided into currents and a previous? If the will of the heavens was frequently changing, how could cultivators even cultivate? To explain it with an example, if you want to reach immortality today, you'd have to eat a watermelon. But the next day, the rule would change and you could reach immortality only by eating a pumpkin. The day after it would change again, and now you had to eat a wax good to reach immortality. Wouldn't cultivators go insane if this were to happen? The will of the heavens is eternal and never changing. However, the wielder of the will has changed several times during the course of history. 9 Lanterns looked ahead and said calmly, "The goal of us cultivators is to reach immortality. After practicing to the peak and suppressing all the cultivators in the universe, one would carry the will of the heavens and become the wielder of the heavens will and the ruler of all. From that moment, they would surmount immortality and become eternal and everlasting. You can say that they would become the embodiment of the will of the heavens itself." Somewhat confused, Song Shuhang asked, "Since the wielder of the will is eternal and everlasting, how come it changed several times during the course of history?" 9 Lanterns shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know either. I'm just telling you what I heard from a senior. The more quick-witted you are, the more things you will understand." Song Shuhang nodded and asked about another thing, "Then, why would the current wielder of the will decide to destroy the heavenly city?" 9 Lanterns smiled happily. "This is a good question. Now, you're finally asking questions pertaining to the conversation. What you said earlier was rather unpredictable and almost threw me off. You really pushed me into a corner, you know? Sorry, I had to let out these pent-up feelings." Song Shuhang. Cough. "Now then, you asked why the current wielder of the will would want to deal with the heavenly city, right? At the time, the strongest influence amongst the world of cultivators was exactly the heavenly city, and if one wanted to deal with cultivators, they had to attack their strongest foothold." 9 Lanterns sighed with emotion. Deal with cultivators and attack the heavenly city? For what reason? Song Shuhang furrowed his brows and suddenly thought of something. Is it possible that the current wielder of the will isn't a cultivator? Aside from cultivators, this world had other existences, such as monsters, demons, ghosts, etc. If the current wielder of the will wasn't a cultivator and even had a grudge against them, it was reasonable for him to attack the heavenly city. Your brain works pretty fast, hey, 9 Lanterns said with a bitter expression. You guessed the right answer so easily that my happy feelings were reduced by at least 80%. I'm sorry, Song Shuhang immediately apologized. Anyway, your guess is correct. The current wielder of the will isn't a cultivator. Even up to this day, we are unaware of the origin, race, or affiliation of this new wielder of the will. The previous wielder of the will, who was friendly toward cultivators, retired overnight and was replaced by the current one. By the way, this change in authority took place in remote times, but those old seniors that survived the ordeal always have a bitter and painful expression on their face when the topic is brought up, Nine Lanterns said, somewhat depressed. Song Shuhang rubbed his temples. Why did this conversation suddenly turn so serious? This situation was somewhat similar to that of an employee that was giving his all and working overtime to please his boss and get a promotion, and the boss also appreciated this hard-working employee of his. But in the next days, just when the employee was getting ready to enjoy his bright future, the old boss would be suddenly replaced with a new one that hated the employee to the core. Moreover, Song Shuhang was just a small cultivator of the first stage. Knowing this big secret shocked him quite a bit. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. While explaining these matters of the past, Nine Lanterns led Song Shuhang through the southern heavenly gate. After entering the gate, Song Shuhang saw a boundless sea of clouds. Amongst the sea of clouds were many drifting palaces. However, in most cases it was only the foundation that had been laid down, the upper part had yet to be built. This place is the real's heaven, and that powerful senior resides inside that bronze palace at the end. Nine Lanterns pointed toward the depths of the sea of clouds, in the direction of the huge bronze palace. Heaven Island? Heavenly City? Miss Nine Lanterns, is it possible that you're trying to rebuild the Heavenly City? Song Shuhang asked. Song Shuhang was quite sure of his guess. If one were to see this scene, they would immediately guess what Nine Lanterns and the senior behind her were trying to do. Yes, we're indeed trying to rebuild the Heavenly City, Nine Lanterns replied honestly. It was something she would have to tell him sooner or later. After leaving the Heavenly Island, Song Shuhang's memories would be temporarily sealed. And in the future, if he were to make a certain decision, the seal would come undone automatically, allowing him to visit the island again. At that time, Song Shuhang would have the opportunity to become a member of the Heavenly Island. I see. Since you can't let the current wielder of the will know that you're rebuilding the Heavenly City, all cultivators that leave this place have to seal their memories. Is that right? Song Shuhang guessed. It's not so simple, Nine Lanterns said with a smile. This information alone wasn't enough to convince them to seal their memories. After all, a memory seal could easily damage their minds, making it very difficult for them to advance their realm in the future. The reconstruction of the Heavenly City is something that concerns the future of every cultivator. If you want to know more about it, you can ask the senior yourself, Nine Lanterns said as she brought Song Shuhang toward the palace. In the next instant, Song Shuhang felt as though he had passed through an invisible barrier and entered another world. An illusory reality. Song Shuhang blurted out. He was familiar with this feeling because he felt the same way whenever he had entered Venerable White's illusory reality. Yes, it's indeed an illusory reality. It seems you have come in contact with a cultivator of the 7th stage, Nine Lanterns said with a faint smile. Moreover, this illusory reality was one of the greatest secrets of the Heavenly City back in those days. While speaking, they kept going forward and arrived in front of the gate of the ancient bronze palace. Song Shuhang took a deep breath. Next, he made up his mind. He decided that he wouldn't talk or ask too many questions after entering the ancient palace. He would merely have his memories sealed and leave the island. He felt that knowing more about this matter would only bring him troubles. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. Meanwhile, in that big forest in the Heavenly Island, the old professor bent down and cut some tree leaves cautiously before putting them in his bosom. He seemed very satisfied. But right at this time, a huge earthworm-like monster drilled out from the ground and opened its mouth wide, biting towards the old professor. Fresh blood spurted out, and the old professor cried out again and again. The other passengers were scared to death and held each other tightly, screaming and crying. And just when the old professor was about to die, blazing light covered his entire body. After an instant, his body turned into particles of light and disappeared. This was the third method to leave the Heavenly Island. If you were to die, you would be automatically sent home. Moreover, you would also receive a powerful healing spell as a complimentary gift while leaving the island, filling your entire body with vigor and energy. Of course, you would have to pay a small fee in exchange for this healing spell. After all, the Heavenly Island was a place where the equivalent exchange reigned supreme. This was the reason Nine Lanterns said that mortals weren't in danger. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 316, Sorry, Wrong Page. Chapter 316, Sorry, Wrong Page. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Kurisu. After approaching the ancient bronze palace, Song Shuhang felt a bone-piercing cold. However, it wasn't the weather, but the cold-type spiritual energy surrounding the place that caused this sensation. The qi and blood energy inside Song Shuhang's apertures started to churn on its own to ward off the cold. Song Shuhang immediately felt a little more comfortable. Nine Lanterns took a step forward and pushed the door of the palace open. Immediately after, a gust of cold mist blew against their faces. Shuhang felt as though he had stepped into a freezer. Song Shuhang's entire body was shivering. He activated the qi and blood in his body and tried to resist the cold. It's very cold in here. Is the senior inside this ancient bronze palace specialized in ice-type techniques? The whole palace feels like a huge freezer. This place is always like this. If anything, you're lucky that it's warmer than usual today. The last time I came here, the entire area was already covered with a layer of ice. Nine Lanterns stepped on the golden lotuses and arrived in front of Song Shuhang. Afterward, she gently waved her hand and split the cold mist ahead of them in two. Come, let's enter. With Nine Lanterns in the front to ward off the cold, Song Shuhang felt much better. The insides of the palace were full of cold mist, and the visibility was extremely low. The cold mist contained a large amount of spiritual energy, and even someone like Song Shuhang who had opened his eye aperture couldn't see farther than 3 meters ahead. Therefore, he had no choice but to follow Nine Lanterns closely. Otherwise, if he were to get lost inside this palace, he would turn into a chunk of ice, freezing to death. We are here. Nine Lanterns' voice echoed from ahead. At this time, she had stopped in front of a small platform. Song Shuhang sneezed a few times and hugged himself to resist the cold. Open your mouth, Nine Lanterns said with a smile. Song Shuhang opened his mouth obediently, and soon after, a medicine pill entered his mouth. After swallowing the pill, he felt his body become warmer and unknowingly let out a groan. Afterward, he asked, "What kind of medicine pill was that?" "It's the cold-resisting pill." "It's not really a medicine pill, but it can come in handy if you're exploring cold secret realms or immortal caves," Nine Lanterns said. Song Shuhang couldn't help but shoot a resentful gaze at her. "Miss Nine Lanterns, if you had this incredible pill, why didn't you give it to me earlier? I almost froze to death." Ahava, I really like the expression "a froze to death." Nine Lanterns gave Song Shuhang thumbs up. "Anyway, if I were to give you the pill earlier, you would regret it." Nine Lanterns pointed at the mass of cold mist and said, "Although this mist can indeed freeze you to death, it's also pretty good to temper your body. And the spiritual energy inside the mist has a great enhancing effect on your physique. Young man, only through hardships can you rise to the top." Song Shuhang didn't even have the time to reply as he sneezed another 2 times. Although he had taken that pill and his body had become warmer, he still had to face the bone-piercing cold. Song Shuhang shot a glance toward the place the cold air was coming from. Without him noticing, a figure wearing a white robe had appeared on the small platform 3 meters away from him. The wide white robe completely covered the body of this person, while an exquisite metallic mask covered their face. Except for their 2 hands, nothing else was visible. Song Shuhang unconsciously looked at the hands of this person. One hand was as white as jade, and the other crimson red. "Little friend, I hope you'll excuse me for the low temperature of this place." The dignified voice of a man came from beneath the metallic mask. This person was the senior Nine Lanterns mentioned earlier. At this time, a white rabbit with long fur drilled out from behind the figure of the man. The man squatted down and picked the white rabbit up, lightly caressing it with his white hand. "Hello, Senior," Song Shuhang said, while curiously looking at the metallic mask on the man's face. This mask had a great attraction to Shuhang, making him feel the urge to lift it and look at the senior's appearance. The nearby 9 lanterns gently patted Song Shuhang's shoulder. "Youth, don't stare at that mask for too long. This senior has already peeked at the secret of immortality. If you stare at him for too long, you would be influenced by him even when he is wearing a mask. This might negatively impact your will as a cultivator. This senior has already peeked at the secret of immortality." Song Shuhang knew from 9 Lanterns' explanation that the highest level a cultivator could reach was the immortal realm. After that, one could only carry the will of the heavens and become the eternal and everlasting wielder of the will. Only one person at a time could become the wielder of the will, and unless the old wielder didn't disappear, a new one would not arise. Therefore, the immortal realm could be considered as highest realm an ordinary cultivator could reach. This powerful senior before his eyes had already come in contact with the secret of immortality, and although he hadn't reached the immortal realm yet, one could still understand how terrifying his strength was. Song Shuhang quickly averted his gaze and didn't look at the face of the senior anymore. "Little friend Shuhang, forgive me for not showing you my face." The powerful senior's dignified voice echoed once more. Afterward, he tried his best to sound as gentle as possible and asked, "Is fellow Daoist Scarlet Heaven doing well?" "Senior, are an acquaintance of Daoist priest Scarlet Heaven?" Song Shuhang looked at this powerful senior, somewhat surprised. "Although there is a huge difference in age between fellow Daoist Scarlet Heaven and me, we can still be considered good friends. I saw that you inherited his special flaming saber technique. Is he still active in the mortal world?" "He should be," Song Shuhang replied. He knew from Lady Onion and Li Tiansu's memories that he planted Lady Onion 300 years ago and took Li Tiansu as a disciple in an unknown ancient era. The powerful senior nodded slightly and didn't ask further. As long as he knew that his old friend was still around and doing fine, it was all good. Scarlet Heaven chose a completely different path for him, but there were myriads of paths that one could take while walking on the Great Way, and there was no telling which one was correct and which one wrong. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Afterward, the powerful senior sat cross-legged on the ground and placed the white rabbit on his lap, saying to Song Shuhang, "Little friend Shuhang, after coming here, you must have guessed that we're trying to rebuild the heavenly city, right?" Song Shuhang nodded. "In that case, you must be also wondering why we're placing ourselves at risk and trying to rebuild the heavenly city under the nose of the new wielder of the will, right?" the powerful senior asked. After hearing this much, Song Shuhang shook his head fiercely. After all, curiosity killed the cat. Therefore, he didn't want to know more about this story. He just wanted to have his memories sealed and get the hell out of this place, continuing to lead his happy life with Senior White, Dudu, and the small monk. But just as he was shaking his head, 2 snow-white hands grabbed his head and started to move it up and down, making him nod a few times. It was 9 lanterns. "No. I don't want to listen. Sometimes, too much knowledge can be dangerous." Song Shuhang struggled with all his might. However, the difference in strength between was too big, and in the end, he wasn't able to break free from 9 lanterns' grip. "It's a nod. Very good, I'll tell you in detail why we took such a large risk and decided to rebuild the heavenly city." The powerful senior sounded very pleased. Hey, powerful senior, have you gone blind? Can't you see that someone is holding my head and forcing me to nod?" Song Shuhang ridiculed in his heart. He didn't say it out loud because this senior would likely turn a deaf ear anyway, ignoring him. It seemed that he was hell-bent on giving him a thorough course about that sneaky reconstruction of the heavenly city. Moreover, he wanted to impart this knowledge by force. "This part of your memory will be sealed in a while. Therefore, you might as well listen to the explanation of the powerful senior. Over the course of the year, he can explain things to visitors only a few times, and if they too refuse to listen, he might really go insane. 9 Lanterns laughed and said to Song Shuhang via secret sound transmission, once you're done listening to his explanation, you might receive something good. And if you can throw away your dignity and chat with him on own initiative and clap a few times, you'll gain something even better. After saying this much, 9 Lanterns released Song Shuhang's head and sat cross-legged on her golden lotus, hovering on Shuhang's right side. I'll receive some benefits if I coordinate with this senior? Song Shuhang thought to himself. These are benefits the 9 Lanterns was talking about shouldn't be too bad, right? If he could really obtain some good benefits, he had no use whatsoever for something as useless as dignity. Moreover, he would forget everything, and upon waking up, he would recover his dignity again. Cough, cough. At this time, the powerful senior on the platform cleared his throat. This scene reminded Song Shuhang of those team leaders that would go on stage during school activities at the start of their performance. After coughing twice, they would say something like, "I'm here to say a few words. I just want to say a few words." As expected, the powerful senior used a similar sentence. Song Shuhang. First, I would like to ask you a question. Do you know why all cultivation techniques, regardless of their type, can only be practiced till the 9th stage Tribulation Transcender realm and never to the Immortal realm? The powerful senior said in a grave tone while stroking the fur of the white rabbit. Song Shuhang remained silent. After a short moment, he said, "Senior, you're asking this question to the wrong person. I'm just a small cultivator of the 1st stage that has yet to learn techniques of the 2nd stage, therefore, I've got no idea about how a technique of the 9th stage looks like." After hearing this much, the powerful senior was stunned. Soon after, he stretched his hand and started to flip there. It seemed as though he was flipping the pages of an invisible book. Cough, cough. This is rather embarrassing. I actually read the text of the wrong page. I was supposed to ask this question to cultivators of the 6th stage or above. The powerful senior coughed and flipped several pages of the invisible book. Song Shuhang opened his eyes wide. The wrong page? Senior, you looked so profound and mysterious, but you were actually reading the text of a book? It is really so hard to use your own words. Cough, cough. Anyway, how about guessing the answer of the previous question? The powerful senior tried to save some face as he asked Shuhang. A guess? Song Shuhang held his chin. Did all the people on the heavenly island like to make others guess things? After pondering for a moment, Song Shuhang replied, "All right. If I only have to guess, is it possible that you can't practice a technique to the Immortal realm because you need to realize something instead of just performing a series of fixed movements? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 317, The Size-Reducing Purse Made from the Shed Skin of the Little Finger Snake. Chapter 317, The Size-Reducing Purse Made from the Shed Skin of the Little Finger Snake. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. For example, let's say there is a peerless sword technique with 8 styles. Although everyone believes there are 8 styles, only 7 are listed on the scroll used to pass the technique down. Hence, the practitioner has to rely on the first 7 styles and their own intuition to create their custom-made 8th style, Song Shuhang guessed. Although he hadn't seen a cultivation technique of the 9th stage, he had read a lot of cultivation-related novels, fantasy novels, and watched many movies. Song Shuhang felt that he was very knowledgeable in this field. After a short pause, the powerful senior said, "Forget it, pretend I didn't ask that question." Afterward, he flipped through the pages of the invisible book and started to read the text aloud. Since Song Shuhang already knew about the book, there was no need to hide it anymore. Song Shuhang. Senior, you were too direct. I came up with that answer with great difficulty, and you dismissed it like that. You hurt my feelings. Cough. Cultivation techniques can't go past the 9th stage Tribulation Transcender realm because the 9th stage is already the limit of cultivators. If the will of the heavens didn't have a wielder already, all Tribulation Transcenders would fight among themselves to decide who would carry the will of the heavens. Amongst them, only the one capable of defeating all the others, becoming unparalleled in the world, would be able to carry the will of the heavens and become the new wielder of the will, eternal and everlasting. In other words, after the ninth stage, one could only become the wielder of the heavens will itself. But here comes the problem: what if there was already another wielder of the will present? In that case, since only one person at a time could carry the will of the heavens, the others could only stop at the tribulation transcender realm. Although a cultivator of the ninth stage was already incredibly powerful and could live up to tens of millions of years, they weren't immortals, they would die once their time was up, the powerful senior said vehemently. Song Shuhang believed that he would have been already drowning in saliva if the senior wasn't wearing a mask. "Senior, you're only reading a book." Still, it's praiseworthy that he can get so excited while reading something he's probably read countless times already. Although he was thinking this in his heart, Song Shuhang had a very excited expression on his face and even clapped his hands. Dignity was useless after all. You could easily throw it away if there was a need to. As the saying goes, if it's dignity, you can recover it after a good sleep. Speaking of sleep, Song Shuhang shot a glance at Nine Lanterns. Nine Lanterns had a solemn expression on her face as she was sitting on the golden lotuses. She looked holy and beautiful in that white dress. However, Song Shuhang could see that her eyes lacked focus and drool had started to leak from her mouth. This was the wondrous trash-level skill, open eyes sleeping technique. At this time, Nine Lanterns was sleeping soundly. When she held my head earlier and made me nod forcefully, she was trying to send me into a trap, right? She even told me to clap my hands so that she could peacefully sleep while I was keeping the powerful senior busy. Song Shuhang had made an unexpected discovery. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Meanwhile, after seeing that Song Shuhang was clapping his hands, the powerful senior got even more excited. Therefore, all those ancient tribulation transcenders started to look for a way to increase their realm of one step and become immortals. Their object wasn't to become eternal and everlasting like the wielder of the will, but to reach immortality and obtain an unlimited lifespan. In the end, those ancient tribulation transcenders researched many ways, and those that were extremely powerful and capable of carrying the will of the heavens found their own way to immortality. In normal circumstances, all these extremely powerful tribulation transcenders would have fought amongst themselves to become the embodiment of the will of the heavens. One of those people would be my old friend Scarlet Heaven. In my life, I've only seen a small number of people that were strong and talented enough to carry the will of the heavens, and he's definitely one of them. When he was still an 8th stage profound sage, Scarlet Heaven had already found his way to immortality. Unfortunately, the methods developed by these extremely powerful tribulation transcenders to reach immortality were suitable only for themselves. After saying this much, the powerful senior closed the invisible book and prepared to give the final speech. As for me, and my talent couldn't be compared to that of those people, and even after spending God knows how many years trying, I wasn't able to find my own way to immortality. At last, I set my eyes on the heavenly city. After hearing this much, you might have started to realize it. The heavenly city was precisely the heavenly emperor's way to reach immortality. The heavenly emperor created the whole structural frame of the city by merging countless natural treasures with an illusory reality. Afterward, many powerhouses of the 7th stage venerable realm and above that had pledged allegiance to the heavenly emperor used their illusory reality to help him complete the structural frame of the city. With the illusory reality, you can create the illusion of an object. However, this object is also at the same time somewhat real. After the structural frame of the heavenly city was completed, it became an existence separated from the rest of the world. It became an independent realm that wasn't influenced by the will of the heavens. After cutting off the interference of the will of the heavens, the heavenly emperor finally finished developing his way to immortality. But he wasn't the only one to benefit from it. All the powerful cultivators that had pledged allegiance to him also had the opportunity to come in contact with the secret of immortality and gain the qualifications to reach the immortal realm in the future. To be honest, the heavenly emperor really deserves to be known as the #1 cultivator throughout the ages besides the wielder of the heavens will himself. His way to reach immortality wasn't limited only to himself, but it could also be shared with others. He and the heavenly city were like one entity. The greater the number of powerful cultivators that joined the heavenly city, the greater would become the strength of the heavenly emperor himself. After saying this much, the powerful senior caressed the white rabbit in his hands and sighed deeply. They all had the opportunity to come in contact with the secret of immortality. Song Shuhang couldn't help but shoot a glance at the powerful senior. The powerful senior looked at Song Shuhang and laughed. You listened carefully. Anyway, I was indeed a dweller of the heavenly city a long time ago, and I was lucky enough to come in contact with the secret of immortality when I was a 7th stage venerable. After all, the heavenly city was destroyed overnight. As a consequence, many denizens of the city weren't there at the time and managed to avoid the calamity and survive. I'm precisely one of them. However, none of us knows how the heavenly city was destroyed. Song Shuhang nodded in understanding. Since he was previously a denizen of the heavenly city, it wasn't strange that this senior would try to carry out the incredibly difficult task of rebuilding the city after getting his hands on one of the fragments. At this time, Nine Lanterns wiped the drool from the mouth and said, "Is the explanation over? Did you sleep well?" the powerful senior said. However, he copied Song Shuhang's voice while saying so. Song Shuhang couldn't help but touch his throat. If not for the fact that he didn't even open his mouth, Song Shuhang would have really thought that it was him speaking. I had a good sleep, the sleepy Nine Lanterns unconsciously replied after hearing Song Shuhang's voice. But after replying, she returned to her senses. She quickly turned her head just to see Song Shuhang touching his throat with a strange expression on his face. Nine Lanterns' expression immediately turned ugly and she turned her head, looking at the powerful senior with a pitiful expression. Hee, too late. The powerful senior laughed lightly. Then, he just flickered his finger, and a bullet of invisible energy hit Nine Lanterns. Nine Lanterns called out pitifully as she was sent flying at high speed. Her figure quickly disappeared from the ancient bronze palace. This girl always forgets she is not allowed to sleep during my lecture. She never learns from her mistakes, the powerful senior muttered. Song Shuhang secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. All right, young man. The lecture is over, and it's time for you to leave the island. The powerful senior stood up and picked the white rabbit up. Soon after, he took out a scroll with rune-like writings on it and gave it to Song Shuhang. After receiving the scroll, Song Shuhang asked, "Is this the technique to seal one's memories?" In the instant he took the scroll, a bright light flashed on his face. The runes on the scroll split into many smaller runes that rushed inside his head. The combination of these runes would give birth to the memory sealing technique. However, these were currently awaiting activation, and only after Song Shuhang personally activated them would they seal his memories. These runes will allow you to seal your memories. There is also a special condition incorporated that will allow you to undo the seal. Anyway, after you activate the technique, you'll forget all the matters regarding the heavenly island, the powerful senior explained. As for whether you'll be able to satisfy the necessary condition and undo the seal, it's mostly up to fate. Lastly, here is a reward for listening to my lecture for so long. Give me the snakeskin of the little finger snake, I'll personally make a small size-reducing purse for you, the powerful senior said with a laugh. After hearing this much, Song Shuhang's eyes immediately lit up. He finally received a reward after listening to the lecture of this senior for so long. Although he had obtained the shed skin of the little finger snake, looking for someone that was capable of manufacturing a size-reducing purse wasn't an easy matter. Moreover, he would need to spend a lot of money for it. Hence, he was unlikely to get his hands on a size-reducing purse in the near future. Therefore, he was very happy when the powerful senior offered to solve this problem for him. Song Shuhang quickly took out the case Nine Lanterns gave him and handed it over to the powerful senior. The powerful senior took out the shed skin of the little finger snake and joined his palms together. Then, the white rabbit with long fur spat out some material from its mouth that merged together between the palms of the senior. Magic runes flashed in the palms of the senior one after another. Soon after, the powerful senior stretched his hand out, and a cute rabbit-shaped purse appeared on his palm. It had been a long time since I've created these kinds of low-level magical treasures, I'm a bit out of practice. The powerful senior gave the rabbit-shaped purse to Song Shuhang, his face very satisfied. There is a formation on its left ear, and if you hold it and pour chi and blood energy inside, you'll be able to shrink all the object you touch with the purse. Song Shuhang took the purse with his trembling hands. Senior, why does it have the shape of a rabbit? Song Shuhang asked cautiously. If possible, he wanted to exchange it for a crocodile-shaped purse. It wasn't a problem for a man to go around with a purse, the problem was to go around with a cute rabbit-shaped purse. Because rabbits are very cute and I like them, the powerful senior said solemnly. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. In the East China Sea, above the huge whale. I finally found some clues. Venerable White's eyes suddenly lit up. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 318, Fellow Daoist, wait a moment. Chapter 318, Fellow Daoist, wait a moment. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. As expected, as long as I'm serious about it, I can definitely find the mysterious island. Venerable White said, full of confidence. After following the direction pointed out by the divination technique, Senior White arrived at a certain place in the East China Sea. After pondering for a moment, he stretched his hand out and pricked the void, trying to reach the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique on Song Shuhang's arm. Venerable White tried to grab at Song Shuhang's position. However, Shuhang was in a strained state right now. It felt as though he wasn't in the real world, but some illusory place instead. This feeling, is it an illusory reality? Venerable White muttered. In other words, there was someone on the island that was a 7th stage Venerable, if not stronger. Through the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique, Venerable White could faintly induce Song Shuhang's state. At this time, he seemed calm and uninjured. Now then, how can I reach Song Shuhang? Venerable White thought a bit and immediately remembered the disposable flying sword that disappeared while chasing after Song Shuhang. At that time, Dudu and the small monk were blocked by the barrier protecting the mysterious island, but the two disposable flying swords were able to bypass it and get on the other side. Perhaps he could use a disposable flying sword to create a path that would lead him to Song Shuhang's side. And given Venerable White's strength, he was indeed capable of following the flying sword and finding an opportunity to pass through the barrier together with it. It wouldn't hurt to give it a try, right? However, Senior White was in the middle of the sea right now. Where would he find a tree branch to manufacture a disposable flying sword? Perhaps he could try to look for other materials and use those to manufacture the flying sword. Venerable White looked all around, trying to look for something to use instead of the tree branch, and it was exactly at this point that he saw a figure in a white suit with hands crossed behind their back and feet stepping on a tree branch, elegantly riding the wind and cleaving through waves. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. My code name is Fox 10. I belong to a mysterious organization specialized in handling all kinds of troublesome matters. Killing, kidnapping, swindling, and so on are like our daily bread. However, I rarely kill since I'm in charge of another set of tasks inside the organization. For example, replacing a person and fulfilling their wife's wish, getting her pregnant. Or tricking little girls into bearing my children and so on. I'm very skilled at dealing with such matters. Today, Wolf 1 gave me the task to trick a girl. She's Chu family's little talent, Chu Chu, and she's carrying the volume of an ancient sword technique with her. I have to coordinate with Whale 8 and Shark 9 and play the role of the hero, rescuing Chu Chu from the hands of the duo. Afterward, I'll use my best techniques and trick her into giving me the ancient sword technique. To complete my mission, I've come to the East China Sea. Thereupon, I decided to enter the scene in the coolest way possible. I wore my favorite white suit and decided to use a tree branch as a surfboard, riding the wind and cleaving through waves. Unfortunately, I can't ride a flying sword yet. Otherwise, I would have been even cooler. However, entering the scene while sailing across the waves is still quite cool. I'm Fox 10, do you want to bear my beautiful children? Please contact me, I'll be happy to bestow upon you my exquisite genes. Eh? What's that thing in the front? Is that a whale? Above the whale are also a beautiful girl, a small monk, and a Pekingese. Is that beautiful girl looking at me? Her eyes are beautiful, they are like an oasis for a thirsty traveler in the desert. As expected, a handsome man like myself will draw attention wherever he goes. Fellow Daoist, wait a moment. Oh, that beautiful girl called me. It seems she wants to have me as a guest. Unfortunately, I can't keep you company today. Better stroke my hair with my hand, I'll look even more handsome if I do that. Goodbye, beautiful girl. If I didn't have this mission to complete, I would have gladly accompanied you and let you bear my children. The best I can do is assume the most dashing pose possible and let you remember it forever. Eh? Wait, how come I can't move anymore? Eh? My body is being drawn toward that beautiful girl on its own. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Venerable White's luck was unrivaled. This guy riding a tree branch came just at the right time. Moreover, it's even my favorite type of tree branch, the branch of a willow tree. After seeing the other party, Venerable White stretched his hand out and made a grabbing motion with his palm. In the next moment, the man in a white suit and the tree branch below his feet were seized by an invisible force and brought over to Senior White's position. Fox 10 opened his eyes wide, the situation wasn't looking too good, he had met a powerful expert. Bang! Fox 10 disorderly fell in front of Venerable White, rolling several times on the back of the huge whale. Fox 10 kept his eyes on Venerable White while maintaining a half-kneeling position and put a hand on his belt. His belt was in truth a flexible sword coiled around his waist. Fellow Daoist, what is your name? Venerable White asked with a faint smile. Fox 10 swallowed a mouthful of saliva. At first, he was planning not to reply, but after seeing Senior White smile, he fell in a confusional state and blurted out, Fox 10. You're surnamed Fox and named 10? So unexpected, to think there are people named like this. Venerable White said while holding his chin. Fox 10. The organization took him in when he was still a child. Therefore, he had no other name besides Fox 10. However, he wasn't surnamed Fox and named 10. All right, fellow Daoist. There was something I wanted to ask you. Venerable White made a grabbing motion with his left hand, pulling the tree branch beside his body and grabbing it. I wanted to know if you could lend me your tree branch. Fox 10's heart was in turmoil, he was picked from the sea and brought here, due to this tree branch. This senior brought him over here with just the movement of their hand. He was like an infant in front of this person and had no way to revolt. If the opposite party wanted something as irrelevant as his tree branch, he certainly didn't dare to refuse. He wasn't so stupid to anger this powerful cultivator over a simple tree branch. Fox 10 made a hollow laugh and said, Senior, if you need this tree branch, you can take it. After all, it's only a very ordinary tree branch. Venerable White's eyes immediately lit up. Fellow Daoist, I like our straightforwardness, I won't forget this favor. However, without the tree branch, you lost your means of transportation. I should give you something in return. Senior, you're too polite. Although Fox 10 said this, he was rather excited. What kind of precious means of transportation was this senior going to give him in return? Just as he was in deep thoughts, he saw Venerable White stretch his hand out and make a grabbing motion toward the sea. Soon after, a 2-meter-long huge fish with a spear-like mouth was grabbed and brought about the water. After being seized, the big fish struggled incessantly. This fish seemed to be a swordfish? What was Senior White planning to do with the fish? Fox 10 saw the beautiful senior stretch out their hand and pat the fish, making the fish lose consciousness. Afterward, a shocking scene took place. He saw the senior stretch out his finger and use it as a brush, starting to draw on the fish. Spirit energy surged, and a formation magically appeared on the body of the fish. Just what kind of strength one had to possess to draw a formation like that? Fox 10 got a huge scare. Good, it's finished. Venerable White clapped his hands and said, I engraved the following formations on the body of this fish, speed increasing, mind controlling, water barrier, and spirit gathering. The effects will last for a month. Fellow Daoist Fox 10, when you step on the fish to ride it, you'll be able to control it through your thoughts. And thanks to the water barrier formation, you won't have to worry about the sea water dirtying your clothes or the swordfish dying of dehydration due to the strong wind. Additionally, the spirit gathering formation will keep filling the fish with energy and vigor. After saying this much, Venerable White smiled proudly and added, "At last, there is the speed increasing formation that I'm so proud of. This formation will increase your speed by 10 times. It's much cooler than the tree branch you were riding before, right? How about it? Do you like this new means of transportation?" Venerable White was very skilled in formations pertaining to speed. Unfortunately, the innate talent of this fish was too low. Otherwise, it might have even developed intellect after having all those formations plastered on its body. Fox 10 forced a smile and nodded. "Anyway, I have still some matters to attend to. Therefore, we should part ways here, fellow Daoist," Venerable White said to Fox 10. Then, he didn't wait for Fox 10 to reply and pushed forward with his hands lightly. In the next moment, Fox 10 and the swordfish were thrown into the sea once more. The swordfish regained consciousness and wagged its head in complacency. It seemed very lively. Fox 10 stood on its body and was now capable of telling the fish in which direction to go through the mind-controlling formation. And just in this fashion, Fox 10 stepped on the swordfish and kept riding the wind and cleaving through waves. Fox 10 looked as handsome as before. But after exchanging the tree branch with a swordfish, even if he were more handsome, he wouldn't look as cool as before. It was like seeing a prince riding a husky instead of a white horse. The prince would inevitably lose some of his charm even if he was handsome. However, Fox 10 felt this swordfish had a very strong point. Its speed was extremely quick. Thanks to the speed increasing formation engraved on its body, the swordfish reached a speed of 100 kilometers per hour in a very short amount of time. And with the spirit gathering formation, it wouldn't get tired either. It could continuously shuttle back and forth in the sea at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. But the most important thing was that there were no brakes. Indeed, there were no brakes to reduce the speed. And just like this, the swordfish dashed forward with a whiz, unable to stop even if it wanted to. Tilde Fox 10 scream of the joy echoed in the East China Sea. "Senior Tilde, you forgot to install the brakes. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash." After seeing off fellow Daoist Fox 10, Venerable White stretched his hand out and started to fiddle with the tree branch, quickly creating a disposable flying sword 00 for addition. "And now, let's unleash the illusory reality." Venerable White opened his hand, creating a huge illusory desert. Dudu and the small monk opened their eyes and could only watch helplessly as they were being drawn into the illusion. Likewise, the poor whale beneath Venerable White's feet was also drawn into the illusory desert. After suddenly finding itself in the middle of the desert, the whale was stunned and started to struggle up. "Ah! Forgive me for bringing you here. Don't worry, we'll leave this place soon." Venerable White comforted the whale and patted its body with his hand, applying the effects of the floating techniques to it. With this technique, the whale would be able to swim through the air as though it was water, allowing it to ignore the gravitational force crushing its body. Immediately after, he poured a large quantity of spiritual energy inside the disposable flying sword. "Go!" Venerable White activated a sword technique and locked onto the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique on Song Shuhang's body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 319, What kind of monstrous human is this? Chapter 319, What kind of monstrous human is this? Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Do your thing. Venerable White activated the sword technique and launched the disposable flying sword. Now, he could only wait and see whether the sword could create a passage and lead him to Song Shuhang. If it could create a passage, he would immediately seize the opportunity and follow behind it closely. The instant the disposable flying sword was launched, perhaps due to the surging sword chi, the huge whale got a bit agitated. It cried out and dived, making a beautiful jump into the air. At the same time, Dudu and the small monk were thrown off the whale's body. This development had been rather unexpected. The corner of Venerable White's mouth twitched as he dashed forward, grabbing the falling Dudu and small monk. Next, something even more unexpected happened. While leaping, the huge whale came in contact with the disposable flying sword 00 for addition. Afterward, the huge whale disappeared with a whiz, heading toward Song Shuhang's coordinates. Along the way, one could still hear the whale's pitiful cry. Woo tilde woo tilde? If the whale had human-like intelligence, its current thoughts would certainly be, you might think that I'm very happy, but these tears are not tears of joy. Senior White blinked a few times. Afterward, he unconsciously stretched his hand out and bid farewell to the whale. Eh? Why, I'm waving at the whale, I should follow it. Venerable White muttered. He grabbed the small monk and Dudu and closely followed behind the disposable flying sword. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. At this time, in the ancient bronze palace in the Heavenly Island. Because rabbits are very cute and I like them. The powerful senior's reply was still echoing inside Song Shuhang's ears. Song Shuhang held the rabbit-shaped purse and deeply pondered for a while. At last, he mustered his courage and asked, Senior, is it possible to change its shape? As soon as he said those words, the rabbit sitting on the powerful senior's leg opened its red eyes and stared at Song Shuhang, its expression very disgruntled. Eh? You don't like that rabbit-shaped purse? The powerful senior was temporarily at a loss. Afterward, he unexpectedly agreed, sure, changing its shape isn't a problem. Which shape do you like? However, aside from rabbits, I'm not too familiar with other animals. He isn't too familiar with other animals? Song Shuhang thought for a moment and said, Senior, do you think a crocodile is feasible? PFFF? Junior, you think I didn't see a crocodile before? Although I haven't left the Heavenly Island for the past 1,000 years, I traveled all around the world before settling in this place. The powerful senior laughed. Then, he stretched his hand out and started to draw into the air. Very soon, the picture of a crocodile appeared mid-air. As soon as he saw this crocodile, Song Shuhang was sure that he would have never guessed the species of this thing if he didn't already know that it was a crocodile. If a crocodile were to grow into something with such an appearance, would its parents even recognize it? Thereupon, Song Shuhang held the rabbit-shaped purse tightly and said with a radiant smile, Senior, on second thought, I too think that white rabbits are quite cute. Not only they have snow-white fur, but they also have those cute ears pointing upward. Moreover, they're even cuter when roasted. After he said this much, Song Shuhang felt a murderous intent come from the red-eyed white rabbit sitting on the senior's knee. F***CK, I sang the wrong praise. If you like it, all the better. That being the case, time to send you home. The powerful senior nodded his head in agreement. I'll trouble Senior then, Song Shuhang said as he activated the magical technique. It was precisely that technique to seal one's memories. When he operated the sealing technique, the runes inside his mind also activated, using the chi and blood energy inside his apertures as a source of power to start sealing the memories pertaining to the Heavenly Island and those slightly earlier. No matter what, the things happening in the Heavenly Island couldn't be divulged in the outside world. If the current wielder of the will were to discover something amiss and find clues about the Heavenly Island, they would erase this entire place. Therefore, it was best for everyone to forget everything that had happened if they were to leave the island. Although he didn't stay on the Heavenly Island for too long, many interesting things happened to Song Shuhang here. Thanks to a stroke of luck, he almost opened his mouth aperture. Now, he was only one step away from being able to jump through the Dragon Gate. Unknowingly, he was only one step away from the last small realm of the first stage, and after jumping through the Dragon Gate, he would finally reach the second stage. Additionally, he also obtained the skeletal dragon's withered vine and a purse made from the shed skin of the little finger snake. He had gained a lot of things from this trip. Of course, 9 lanterns as well. Anyway, he would soon forget everything these matters pertaining to the Heavenly Island. Unfortunately, his time was limited. Otherwise, he would have really wanted to catch one of those gorillas and gift it to Senior White. Song Shuhang was sure that Senior White would have been very interested in these gorillas with high learning skills. But his time here was over. The seal started to take effect, and Song Shuhang started to forget about these matters bit by bit. The seal started to seal his memories, starting since the time he boarded the plane. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. In the sky above the ancient bronze palace, 9 lanterns were standing on 2 golden lotuses and fiddling with her prayer beads. She looked at the palace, and her vision pierced the thick fog, gazing at Song Shuhang, who was now having his memories sealed. 9 lanterns sweetly smiled and stepped into the air, leaving the heaven and returning to the heavenly island below. The knot of karma had been solved, and everything was settled now. It was time for her to advance to the 6th stage true monarch realm. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Still on the heavenly island, on the other shore of the deathly still black sea. The lightning pig turned its body and half opened its eyes, piercing through space and looking at the underground tomb. Inside the chamber tomb, the small white dragon was still lying inside the crystal coffin, motionless. In the groove beside the crystal coffin, Song Shuhang's blood was still flowing. Although it didn't react with the crystal coffin, it wasn't rejected either. It wasn't a success, but it wasn't a failure either. This is what the sentient puppet Dragon Bone said at the time. Just what's the meaning of this? There was no reaction, but also no rejection. Damn it, you could have reacted a little, you know. The lightning pig heaved a sigh. The wound on its body was as bad as before, it didn't seem it was going to heal anytime soon. By the way, just how long have I been a pig already? The lightning pig closed its eyes, falling into a deep slumber. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. In the forest on the heavenly island. A bloody massacre took place in the forest, and even the nearby branches and tree leaves were covered in blood. The group led by the old professor was completely killed by the huge earthworm-like monster. However, just before dying, the passengers were sent home and given a powerful healing spell, as well as a free-of-charge memory wiping effect. The huge monster chewed again and again in confusion. It had just swallowed 8 snacks, but why was it still feeling hungry? It felt as though it had eaten nothing but empty air. The strange monster was wondering whether its appetite had increased lately. Snowflake hash, snowflake hash, snowflake hash. Song Shuhang memory sealing process was proceeding smoothly. But right at this time, the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique on his arm faintly lit up. Eh? The powerful senior looked at Song Shuhang, somewhat confused. Given his strength, it was easy for him to induce if someone was trying to lock onto Shuhang's coordinates. Therefore, he shot a look at the coordinates on Song Shuhang's arm. Are those the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique? But the heavenly island is in a separate space, and there is even my illusory reality acting as protection. How did this person lock onto the coordinates of this kid? The powerful senior was stunned. After all, the heavenly island was established using a fragment of the heavenly city as a base and was usually in a completely undetectable status. Even the current wielder of the will was unable to locate its position. But now, someone had locked onto Song Shuhang's position using the coordinates of an ordinary 10,000-mile flying escape technique. This matter was both terrifying and absurd. It was as scary as using a walkie-talkie with a 100-meter range to communicate with someone on the other side of the galaxy. Although I would like to meet this mysterious fellow Daoist face to face, it's not the right time. I can't let you step into the heavenly island, the powerful senior said with a smile. Since the objective of the opposite party was Song Shuhang, he just had to send him back. Moreover, the memory sealing process was almost complete. The powerful senior flicked his hand, and a blazing light appeared on Song Shuhang's body. In the next instant, a space gate visible only to the powerful senior appeared beside Song Shuhang's body. It was a space-related technique that only a 9th stage tribulation transcender could use. The space gate enveloped Song Shuhang's body, turning him into particles of light that started to dissipate slowly. Goodbye, kid. Perhaps you'll have become a powerhouse of your own the next time we meet. The powerful senior offered Song Shuhang his best wishes. His voice had yet to fade when a wooden sword appeared out of thin air beside Song Shuhang, as though it had passed through space itself. But that wasn't all. A huge whale was riding the wooden sword. The huge whale cried out pitifully. It was very scared at this moment. A space-related ability? The powerful senior opened his eyes wide. His guess was correct. The wooden sword and the whale riding it came here by passing through space. However, the power of space was supposed to belong only to ninth stage tribulation transcenders. No, something was off. This wasn't a magical technique, because the way the sword and the whale traversed space was different than a space gate. It looked more like an innate skill. Moreover, it seemed as though the owner of this skill wasn't very adept at using it. Even the powerful senior was speechless after witnessing this scene. What kind of monstrous human was this? A human with a space-related innate skill. After making their appearance, the huge whale and the wooden sword bumped into Song Shuhang lightly. In the next instant, flame-like radiance appeared both on the whale and the wooden sword. They too changed into particles of light and started to dissipate like Song Shuhang. Woo tilde before disappearing, the whale cried pitifully once more. The poor thing was extremely scared. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the East China Sea. Venerable White had a confused look on his face as he withdrew his illusory reality. After he launched the disposable flying sword toward Song Shuhang's coordinates, the sword flew before bumping into something and disappearing with the huge whale. Since the flying sword disappeared without any warning, he lost the possibility to open a passage between him, Song Shuhang, and the mysterious island. Did I fail? This mysterious island really is a tricky place. Venerable White muttered. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 320, I'm dashingly sinking toward the bottom of the sea. Chapter 320, I'm dashingly sinking toward the bottom of the sea. Translator, Godbrandy Editor, Karisu. Maybe I should try to enter the mysterious island forcefully. There seems to be no other way. Venerable White thought to himself. Just as he was in deep thoughts, Venerable White exclaimed in surprise, "Eh?" The coordinates that he had locked onto suddenly disappeared. And around 3 seconds later, he could feel Song Shuhang's aura once more. This time, he was somewhere in the East China Sea. Did little friend Shuhang come out of the mysterious island? Venerable White immediately understood what had happened. In the next instant, he unsheathed Meteor Sword. Immediately after, he brought the small Munkin Dudu along and stepped on the flying sword, heading toward the coordinates of the 10,000-mile flying escape technique. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the middle of the boundless East China Sea. The girl named Chu Chu was swimming in the water with all her strength. Behind her were 2 detestable fellows, closely following her. The duo was intentionally forcing her toward a certain route. We agreed on this place, right? Fox 10 isn't here yet, a man with sharp teeth said in a grave tone. It's indeed strange. I don't see Fox 10 around. I'll ask Wolf 1 about it, the other man, who had a stocky build but nevertheless was extremely fast, replied. Then, he contacted Wolf 1 through the communication device. Fox 10 was a special existence in their organization, and except Wolf 1, the other members were unable to contact him directly. Therefore, they had to contact Wolf 1 first, who'd contact Fox 10 later. After the call connected, Whale 8 immediately asked, Wolf 1, is Fox 10 already at the scene? What? Fox 10 isn't there yet? Damn it, I told him to get there earlier and wait for you guys. Wait a moment, I'll try to contact him. After saying this much, Wolf 1 hung up and called Fox 10. Very soon, Fox 10 picked up. But as soon as he picked up, a strange sound came from his end. BRRR tilde BRRR tilde. Wolf 1 furrowed his brows and asked, Fox 10, where are you? BRRR tilde BRRR tilde, I don't know. My current speed is simply too fast, I can't clearly see the surrounding scenery, however, I feel really cold, Fox 10 said while shivering. You feel cold? Idiot, where the hell did you run to? Immediately come back. Whale 8 and Shark 9 put so much effort to drive that girl from the Chew family into a hopeless situation, and now it's your time to enter the scene. Wolf 1 said in a grave tone. Brrr. Wolf 1, I fear. I won't be able to come back in a short amount of time, sniff. Fox 10 said while half weeping. Right now, Fox 10 was still riding that swordfish, and his speed was getting faster and faster. On top of it, he couldn't stop because there were no brakes. Under the power of inertia, the speed of the swordfish had surpassed 100 km per hour, and if we add the effects of the constantly active speed increasing formation, it had already reached 1,000 km per hour. You could say that it was deadly fast. The fearful thing was that there was no way to decrease the speed since Venerable White didn't install the brakes. However, this wasn't the most fearful thing, because even if there were no brakes, a second stage true Master Realm cultivator such as Fox 10 could just jump down from the swordfish. Instead, the most fearful thing was that a water barrier formation, that formation protected Fox 10 from the splashing water and the fish from the strong wind. However, maybe because the speed was too fast, the formation warped, firmly locking Fox 10 on the swordfish and not allowing him to move. At this time, Fox 10 was stuck on the back of the fish and was unable to get away from it. He could still use the mind-controlling formation to control the direction of the fish, but unfortunately for him, he had no option to stop. As if that wasn't enough, the swordfish wasn't exhausted at all and was full of energy thanks to the spirit-gathering formation. Finally, there was another major problem. Fox 10 had no idea what his current position was. Although he could tell the swordfish to turn left or right, the speed was so fast that he had unknowingly lost his way and didn't know where he was right now. The only thing he knew was that this damn place was incredibly cold. It was so cold that even a cultivator of the second stage, such as himself, was trembling. One had to know that only the North and South Poles were cold enough to make a cultivator of the second stage feel this cold. At this time, he had two options. 1. Wait for the formations engraved on the swordfish to lose their strength, but he would have to wait a month for that. 2. Wait to meet a good man that would help him kill this goddamn swordfish. Wait a moment. F*CK, I can kill this stupid swordfish myself. Fox 10 said, somewhat depressed. Since he couldn't get off the fish, couldn't he just kill it and stop it? Wolf 1, there was an unexpected accident, and I can't return right now. I'll contact you in a while and update you on the situation. After saying this much, Fox 10 closed the communication channel. Soon after, he grabbed that flexible sword coiled around his waist and injected true chi into it. The flexible sword immediately straightened, becoming a lethal weapon that could cut through steel as though it was butter. Fox 10 held the sword and slashed toward the head of the swordfish. Although it had four formations engraved on its body, this swordfish was only an ordinary fish at the end of the day, and the strength of its body wasn't enhanced. Therefore, the attack directly pierced its head and fresh blood flowed out. And just in this fashion, the first swordfish in history to reach the speed of 1,000 km per hour passed away. After its death, the speed of the swordfish sharply fell. Even if the speed increasing formation was very powerful, it couldn't magically change a base speed of 0 km per hour into 100 km per hour. Fox 10 heaved a sigh of relief and called Wolf 1 once more to update him on the situation. But right at this time, the corpse of the swordfish sank into the water, heading toward the bottom of the sea. As if that wasn't enough, the water barrier formation was still active. Fox 10 didn't even have time to enjoy his freedom when he was dragged toward the seafloor. Snowflake hash snowflake hash snowflake hash. In the meantime, Wolf 1 had just turned his communication device off. Damned Fox 10, he actually screwed up at such critical moment. F*CK, once this mission is over, I'll tie him to a boulder and throw him to the bottom of the sea. As a long-time member of the organization, he had a poor opinion of this stylish fool. Wasn't he just a little more handsome than the others? On what basis did he and the other powerful seniors have to do all those dirty and tiring jobs while this fool had duties such as impregnating young wives, cute girls, and mature women? This stupid world where only your looks mattered was really annoying. Just as Wolf 1 was cursing him in his heart, Fox 10 contacted him through the communication device once more. Wolf 1 furrowed his brows but still answered the call. Wolf 1, I'm in a bad situation. Gurgle tilde, Fox 10's frightened voice came from the other end. I'm sinking toward the bottom of the sea, gurgle tilde, I'll contact you again in a while, gurgle tilde. Wolf 1. Bastard, sink and die. After hanging up, Wolf 1 contacted Whale 8 and said in a grave tone, Old 8, Fox 10 had an accident. The plan has changed, it's up to you and Shark 9 to catch that choo-choo now. You absolutely can't let her run. If there is a need to, you can use violent methods. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know a report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible.